in an effort to, and look at this, we have a lot more people here than we usually do often at the start of our meetings at City Hall. So thank you all for coming out and welcome. We're going to start by pledging allegiance to the flag. So for all who wish to, Councilmember Pichot will lead us tonight.
Here. Councilmember Pichot.
Here.
Councilmember Lamnin. Here. Councilmember Salinas.
Present.
Mayor Halliday.
Here.
Thank you.
Now, today, I think as most of us know, is the anniversary of something that happened 17 years ago in our country that I know all of us who were around and old enough to know what was going on that day will never forget. And so, in memory of all those who lost their lives that day in New York City and Washington, D.C. and in Pennsylvania, and in empathy and sympathy for, empathy with and sympathy for those still alive who loved those people and who are still pained, particularly on this anniversary by their loss, I ask you to join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Now, we're going to move on. Oh, I would like to announce that this meeting is not being televised live as our council meetings in City Hall usually are, but it is being videotaped, and it will be available on our website, I believe, if not tomorrow, at least by the day after, and it will also be able to be seen on Channel 15 this Friday at 7 p.m. So just wanted to make that announcement. And we will be starting with public comments, and I do have a number of cards. If you want to make a public comment on any item that is not otherwise on our agenda this evening, please bring a card up to the city clerk. So tonight we really have one consent item that we'll be just talking about very briefly, and then we're going to move on to our main item tonight, which is a work session on update on the implementation of the council's 3 strategic initiatives. One of them is the Tennyson Corridor, which I think is why we chose to have our meeting here tonight. So if you would like to make a comment about that, what we're going to do is we're going to hear the staff report first when we get to that item, and then we will have public comment about it, and then we will have council comments, questions, and comments. So now I'm going to, yes, I am going to, we do have translation services here tonight in Spanish out right up here. Please find people who are waving their hands, yes. And so if you need that tonight, please see them. And I'm going to turn this over to our city clerk, Miriam Lenz, to talk about our current arrangements for translation services.
Thank you, Mayor Halliday. Good evening again. Thank you for the opportunity to announce the service that we are starting today. The City of Hayward is offering enhanced non-English language interpretation services for all open sessions meetings actually of the City Council. And tonight is the first service that we are offering. Individuals who are interested in taking advantage of the service could call my office at 510-583-4401. Preferable 48 hours in advance so that we could make accommodations. Interpretation services for all other languages can also be scheduled upon request. So we do recommend that you contact my office if you need the assistance. And Mayor Halliday, if I may, I'd like to make the announcement in Spanish for those individuals who are in attendance.
Please do. Thank you.
Thank you. Buenas noches a todos las personas que nos están acompañando esta noche. Bienvenidos. Hoy estamos empezando un servicio en la ciudad de Hayward donde vamos a proveerles con interpretación en español e inglés para las personas que lo necesiten, y las personas pueden llamar a la oficina al 583-4401. Acá tenemos 2 personas que nos están ayudando, y si ustedes necesitan la asistencia, por favor, acérquense a este lugar. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're going to move to public comments, and our first speaker is Peggy Guernsey. We do not have a podium, but we do have a microphone up here. Since we don't have our regular timer, there is a timer over here. Public comments are up to 3 minutes, and the clock is over here by the city clerk's place.
Hello, I'm Peggy Guernsey, and I've lived in Hayward 47 years. I'm here to express my anger over the overcrowding on local streets, Tennyson and Mission Boulevard, because buses are being canceled. I am pleased that at least you're here tonight to clean up the Tennyson corridor. It took you over 47 years, but I'm glad it started now. But I voiced my concerns over our new 1,500 plus new living units that will put more than 3,000 cars on our streets. South Hayward will be more overcrowded, and there's nothing to help that with all these buses canceled. I do not see any action from this council over this concern. I have voiced this for over 2 months and not heard anything from any of you. Council members Germanio, Lyman, and Marquez have answered my emails at least, but there's still no ideas on how to fix it. While you, Madam Mayor, are running for re-election, you've never answered any of my emails. And you, Councilman Salinas, running for mayor, also never answer me. I understand you didn't even attend Chabot College's rallies to support their students over the bus concerns, and you're a teacher there. If you want people to vote for you, you must at least show respect to us. Please respect me.
Ms. Guernsey, I have discussed this with members of the AC Transit Board. Some of them are also running for office, and I had been, in discussions with them about this issue, and there was a lot involved there as far as what they did with the buses. Some of it was in connection with the city. And yes, I apologize for not getting back to you yet, but yes, I have been discussing this, and I have some information, but not all of the information that I wanted yet.
Right, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Our next speaker is Teresa Pedroza. And she'll be followed by Jim Drake.
Hello, my name is Teresa. I'm here too to talk about the 22 bus. I have meetings with AC Transit, and all they're doing right now is they want students to buy the Easy Pass. To me, that's a lot of money for the students to dish out when they don't have no bus from Chabot to South Hayward, and they're not on time. So right now is Easy Pass is out of the question right now. To me, is you need to have buses on time for the students to go from here to South Hayward. Students shouldn't have to take, like me, 5 buses to get to school and home. 3 buses there and 2 buses to Chabot. And that's ridiculous, and they pay separate fares. The students need to know, if they want to do the Easy Pass, they need to know The bus is going to be on time, and they need to go where they have to go. Thank you. Bye.
Kim Gray, followed by Kim Huggett. Oh, sorry.
Can they move the time clock down at the end because you can't see it from this microphone of these people sitting there? Because you can't see that that's a 3-minute time clock.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, nice and loud now. Yeah, my name's Jim Gray. I'm a Hayward resident since '63. And I'm here to talk about safety. None of you up here has committed and made a promise to the people out here on getting more police officers out on patrol. I mean, you got 9 areas, you got 9 police officers. You had 70 forcible rapes in last year. That's a lot of, you figure it out, do the math on it, 9 into 70, and you'll come up with 7.8. Round it out and just say 8, because there's a lot of them that's not reported. We are the prisoners now. We got bars on our windows. And the crooks are out here walking around. They feel good. Who do we break into next? And I'd like to hear somebody say up there that's running for re-election, we will be getting more police officers out on patrol in the cars, because we definitely need them. And there's another issue with these tinted windows. I got a neighbor, you can't see in his car, period. An officer pulled him over. I told the officer about his windows being all tinted. You can't see the front windshield, the 2 drivers and passenger side. The only thing legal about a tinted window is the passenger side got to be clear, and the front windshield can be tinted down about 6-8 inches. Other than that, it's got to be totally clear. If there's a robbery, somebody gets killed or anything, and the guy jumps in the car, you got his windows tinted, I couldn't tell who they are. The guy might even shoot me for looking at him because he can see me, but I can't see him. We need to enforce the tinted windows big time. It's scary out there. It is really scary out there with these tinted windows, because you can't see what the driver's doing. I've toned myself way down. Thanks, my time's up. Thank you. But more police officers, please.
We got it. Kim Huggett, followed by Manzella Kurtz.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. I'm Kim Huggett, president of the Hayward Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to the Hayward Economic Zone. This is, if you'll notice, if you haven't already, I'm sure you have, there are very few spaces available here for people to run a business, and that's because this is a vibrant economic community where people support the businesses in their own community, which is why people like to locate their businesses here. And so on behalf of business in particular, thank you for elements that you'll hear tonight, like the facade project and some other things that are stimulating business. But the reason I'm here at this moment is to direct your attention to the flyer that's in front of you, and those in the audience can see these on the table in the back. This is the 9th annual Hayward Mariachi Festival this Friday. It's free at the downtown City Hall Plaza. We encourage all of our neighbors and friends to attend. And Some of our council members will be there. I'm not sure if they'll be singing or dancing or telling jokes or whatever, but come for the surprise. And again, it's a wonderful community celebration made possible because of the support of the city of Hayward and its employees as much as the downtown merchants. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll be there. Maybe dancing. Manzella Curtis, yes, and followed by John Manrique.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, and staff. My name is Mandela Curtis. I wanted to try to reiterate again about as far as pushing Section 8, as far as the landlords not running the Section 8 tenants and trying to see if you guys could really help them out as far as making an ordinance for that so that so a lot of the tenants that are on Section 8 can be able to get apartments so that a lot of them don't be out in the streets, and this would really help them out. The other thing that I wanted to reiterate as far as getting rent control so that these landlords that do have own apartments to where they can't increase the rent up too high to where people will be able to live in an apartment and enjoy their life instead of being stressed out as far as having to pay these high rent increases. So if you get an ordinance for that, that would be great too.
I think we are having further discussion of these issues. Madam City Manager, do we have a date scheduled at this point for that discussion?
Not yet. When the council adopted the moratoriums in May, we said we would come back in probably 6 to 9 months with at least a report out, but the moratoriums are in place for 18 months.
Yeah. And Councilmember Michaud has a question for you.
And I did talk to the gentleman before the council meeting and referred him to the Housing Authority meeting that we were going to have tomorrow on Atherton. You know where that building is, at 8 o'clock, and you will get direct answers, I promise you.
I'll be there. Okay. Okay, thanks.
John Manrique, to be followed by Mary Lowry.
Hi, my name is John Manrique, and welcome to this area. I'm glad to see you guys come down here. I'm here today because of the new water meters, and I'm sure you've all heard feedback that they're inaccurate. I don't question the accuracy of them, but we're in a vicious cycle of basically raising water rates, which is a necessity. I can go nowhere else but Hayward City Water. I came into the council meeting at the time when we were saying, let's put it on tiers, similar to PG&E. Everybody was upset about it and didn't want these tiers, but nobody realized that when you're paying every 2 months, you're never going to get in tier 1 at the lower rate. You're always going to go to, if you have 1 or 2 people in your family, and normally everybody has 5 around here, you're going to hit that third rate. And that third rate is almost double. I've been here for 36 years, and my water bill has been averaging between $140 to $170. Since I got the new meter, $340. And I've got 3 people in my family. 3 of my boys went off to college. I've got 1 returning back home because he's going to medical school and he can't afford to live on college campuses. So I've got 3 people now, again, in my house. $340 is ridiculous. That's over $4,000 for a year. I'm on a set income. I can't raise my 2 or 3 tier a raise for myself. So that's all I did was basically say, okay, now I've got a dead lawn, I've got a dead backyard, I've got bricks in my toilet. Because we saved so much money, we went to this triple tier thing because, of course, you have to pay for the city water and the people that have to work there. We've laid off the meter readers. They're doing it electronically, and we raised it $4. Is that not staying in that second tier? And I'm now telling my wife, well, maybe we should go do our laundry. I bought a house so I wouldn't have to do that. But should I have to go to a public laundromat to try to save water? I mean, I've done everything I possibly can, and because we saved so much, we've got penalized. And now we're in this vicious cycle of the second and third tier that we can't get out of. If you base, even if our meters are right, and I've been charged under, basically what happened is you set your profit margin on the old meters. So if all of a sudden I go from 170 to 340, I guarantee you're going to have a windfall money within the next 3 to 6 months when all the revenues come in. It has to be re-reviewed so that you can take them back down and say, well, we were only looking for a 20% margin, we're at 60. Right there it tells you something. So I just wanted to throw that out, and I'm sure you're hearing from everybody else that has a water meter, that even if it's right, it's still wrong to go to this triple tier thing. It has to be reviewed later on in your profit margins. Thank you.
I think our city manager might have a comment in response to that.
And I would just encourage you to, our interim public works director, Alex Mary, is back there. He'll raise his hand. Check in with him because maybe something is not right with your water bill. I know that my water bill just recently went up pretty dramatically after a period of time, and it was misread. So let's just double check there wasn't an error first. But please check in and give your address to Mr. Amiri so we can look into it a little bit further.
He's here? Yes. Okay, thank you. Mary Lowry, and she'll be followed by Heather Reyes.
Hello, my name is Mary Laurie, and my family has lived in Hayward since the mid-1950s. I'm a member of the Healthy Aging Program at Shiver College, and I'd like to comment again about the 22 bus. It used to be the bus that united South Hayward, and it went by all the stores, all the restaurants, Shiver College, Ochoa Middle School, Southland Mall. And now they canceled, the AC Transit canceled the bus without warning. People were left standing on the curb waiting for the bus. And they replaced it with the 83 and 86 running every 15 minutes. Now, those buses go to Eden Landing, which doesn't have any restaurants, doesn't have any shops, doesn't have any schools. I realize that people do work down there, but they need to get to work and they need to come back from work. These buses don't need to run every 15 minutes. Whereas with Chabot College, the classes start pretty much constantly, so they need a constant flow of buses there. Also, because students can't get to Chabot College from Mission, South Hayward, Bart, and Tennyson, they can't take evening classes, or else they're sitting there waiting at the corner of Tennyson and Hesperian, which isn't a very good neighborhood, you know. And so I would like to get the 22 bus back, you know. Preferably every half hour, even more often would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Heather Reyes, and she'll be followed by Sophia Sanchez.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff, and the public. I would like to take a moment to say I really support the Hayward Animal Shelter, and I love animals, but I can't do it all on my own. So, on behalf of myself, Rhonda, Karen, Lucy, Lisa, Susan, Perry, Elena, Nicole, Carrie, Jane, Stacy, Robin, Yoli, Leslie, Robin, and Sherry, we're the Cottage Scrappers, and we had a fundraiser back in July, and we were able to raise and donate to the Hayward Animal Shelter $750.
Thank you. And on behalf of Hayward Animal Services and all of the animals that we care for, Elise and I came tonight to thank Heather and everybody who helped coordinate this very successful event. This is the second year in a row that she's done this. She has plans for, I think she said the next 4 years. She's already got dates scheduled. So the funds, you know, we thank you for your generosity. They will go to good use. Our animals really appreciate them, and so do we. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We really do appreciate it on behalf of all the animals in the shelter. Thank you. Sophia Sanchez, and She'll be followed by Daniel Vasquez.
Hi, good evening to everyone here. So my name is Sophia, and I'm here representing Chabot College as well as Rising Sun Energy Center. So some of you may know Rising Sun is a nonprofit organization that partnered with local cities in the Bay Area, and we worked with Hayward to provide energy and water audits to homes here in the area. And I just wanted to share my experience as a program manager the last summer. And we served one apartment complex actually in the Tennyson area that was 250 units. So that was really a really great experience for the tenants and also us, because we actually hire youth in the area and we train them with the sustainability aspect, and then they go out to people's homes and offer this free service. So it's been a really great experience, and I'm really grateful to Hayward for offering that partnership, and hope that that can actually still happen in the future. And I'm also here representing Chabot, so you'll hear more about what we've done with the Tennyson area. So hopefully they'll talk about that later with Chabot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Thank you.
We'll be talking about that later. Thank you so much. Daniel Vasquez. He'll be followed by Wynn Grissich.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, staff, and the public. Bienvenidos a nuestra vecindad. Welcome to our neighborhood. I'm really excited to see you folks out here. Just a little bit about myself. I'm definitely a proud product of Hayward Schools. My parents came here back in the 70s as immigrants, and they were blessed to be able to be given the American dream of staying here, especially on a working blue-collar salary. And, but yeah, I'm Hayward proud. I tout that I'm Hayward proud, made in Hayward throughout my travels and wherever I go. And I wear many hats. But one of the biggest hats I do wear is being the proud dad of Mia Vasquez, the little girl who inspired with her wish the special needs park that's going to be built, hopefully at the very end of this park, not too far from now. And so I'm excited. I'm very excited about the things that are happening at Hayward. But I'm also very concerned, and the biggest concern that I do have, and I know you folks have been hearing it repeatedly, is housing. And the thing that I do want to point out is with housing, it is getting to a point where even working professionals like myself, who do provide services to low-income immigrant families, even we're struggling with housing. And just wanted to plant that out there. I know you folks have been in numerous meetings where you folks are hearing this, but now it's even creeping up to working professionals like me. And I hate to move away from a city that I love so much, that I hold so dear, and that's going to be having such a beautiful park that's going to put Hayward back on the map. Just wanted to reiterate that it is creeping up, and it isn't just a thing of my family. I am encountering that with other professionals and peers and friends that are my age that are also encountering that, who can easily leave the Bay, but I don't want to do that. I don't. And so just wanted to say that, and I wanted to welcome you guys to our neighborhood. So excited to see you guys out here, and I hope it's not the last time. Thank you. Have a great evening. Gracias.
Thank you. She'll be followed by Dale Silva.
Hi, my name is Wynn Gersich, and I go to a lot of the city council meetings. And since you were talking about the water meters, I want everybody to know, look this up on YouTube, the dangers of 5Gs and the wireless network. Those water meters are wireless, and the fact is they're emitting more radiation into your homes. The PG&E, on your PG&E bills, you had an opt-out option, which I did. I do not have a smart meter on my house. And when you're pinging these things off these meters that cause radiation in your home, and then Mr. Quirk wrote a bill to put 5G cell towers, which is right at the end of my street, right next to Mount Eden High School, they cook the girls' ovaries and they sterilize you. They're gonna cause more people to have brain tumors and stuff. So if the people would look these things up on YouTube, there's a man named Kevin Motis. He is from the California Tumor Registration. And he says the dangers of 5Gs and the wireless network. You can look up Dr. Barry Trower, who is a microwave specialist. He wrote The Cooking of Humanity. When you see what they have done to this neighborhood and these cities, and they're doing this all over, they're gonna try to do it all over the world. This is to depopulate. These city councils belong to the UN. That's what my t-shirt says. It says, kick out the ICLEI. If you look this up on YouTube, it's the International Council for Local and Environmental Initiative. When they salute the flag, they ain't saluting our flag. They're saluting the flag of the UN because that's what they belong to. So under the depopulation plan, they're putting these things in to destroy our health, sterilize you, and eventually give you cancer so you'll die. And this isn't scary. This is scary. And if you look this stuff up, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Deborah Tavares, her website is this: Who's Running America and the CAP, Climate Action Plan. Every city, you can Google Hayward, and then look up their Climate Action Plan. You can see that they belong to the United Nations, and their Climate Action Plan is spending all this money to bankrupt everybody. That's why people are becoming homeless and your houses are going out of, astronomical taxes on things that you can't afford your property taxes anymore. And this is very important, and if you don't believe me, look this up. This is her website, stopthecrime.net. Stopthecrime.net has every government document on what they're going to do to give us cancer, how they're going to take us out and sterilize us with the fluoridation in the drinking water. People voted in Hayward in 1971 to drink poison. And this stuff it increases Down syndrome, it doubles breast cancer death rates. They added ammonia to the drinking water. Your city councils did that. So all these women running for the cure of cancer, they're drinking chlorine and ammonia. And if you read Dr. Wynne Parker's Chloramine Causes Collateral Health Damage, you'll know that it increases breast cancer, causes bladder cancer, colon cancer, reproduction malfunction, and prostate cancer. So they give awards to these doctors every one of these meetings at all the city councils, because I go all over the Bay Area. And they give you a Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. It's breast cancer. Let's run for breast cancer. Well, if you're going to be drinking, poison in your drinking water that causes it,
Thank you, Ms. Grissom.
we can use alternative technology to disinfect the water. And don't vote for the new school bond. Thank you.
Dale Silva, followed by Don Keller.
Hi, good evening. I'm Dale Silva. I'm here to ask that you please keep on your radar screen somewhere the possibility of one day providing Hayward City water to the Terrace View development across town. There are three things that the city of Hayward would get out of this. Number one is substantial increased revenue by providing water to 25 huge houses on 25 huge lots, and all the surcharges and so on that you can charge them as new customers there. When folks move into those houses, they'll be be helping the housing supply by providing empty houses they just moved out of somewhere, presumably some in Hayward, and help the housing supply. And lastly, Hayward City residents will get a brand new, shiny, beautiful trail for bikes or for foot or for whatever, from the top to the ridge trail at the bottom of the canyon on the east side. This trailhead will be within 5 to 10 minutes of Hayward City residents on D Street, East Avenue, 2nd Street, and very close to Prominence, Bailey Ranch, and Stonebrae. So I would hope that you would keep this in mind and look for an opportunity to advance the subject. Thank you.
Thank you. Don Keller, followed by Janice Keller.
Yeah, council and staff. My name is Don Keller, 25900 Fairview Avenue in Hayward. I'm here again to request that the City of Hayward renew the water service agreement between Hayward Water and a Terrace View development previously called Oak Terrace. Several years ago, Hayward approved water service for this development off 5 Canyons Parkway near Fairview Avenue. While approved, the developer installed a water main in the roadway to supply water for the development. At a recent Castro Valley NAC meeting, Alex Ameri stated that he was very much in favor of the project, but it was outside the city limits. And that's true, that's correct. But also outside the city limits is Hayward's Fairview Fire Department, receiving water from Hayward. Also adjacent, 4 adjacent homes to the Fairview Fire Department. They have Hayward water. The Hard Little League Baseball Park has Hayward water, all getting from the same pipeline that was installed by the developer. All these customers are using Hayward water coming through the water main installed by the developer, and now that development is deprived of water after millions of dollars has been spent. Several other citizens in the area are supplied with Hayward water, including myself for over 54 years, and my property is surrounded by this development. These properties are too high in elevation for East Bay Mud to supply water. A new developer called City Ventures is ready to complete the Terrace View project So please do what's right and let this developer move forward to correct the errors of the previous developer with Hayward water supplied through the water main that they installed for that purpose. It just doesn't seem right to me that this many years has gone on and these people have worked to get this development together and spent thousands of hours and millions of dollars, and now all of a sudden the water's shut off. It's like you get a building permit to build a house and you get the frame up and the roof on, and then all of a sudden someone says, oh, sorry, we don't want to give you water anymore. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Janice Keller, followed by Diane Fagali.
Janice Keller, I'm back discussing this issue that Dale and Don, my husband, had brought up. It's regarding the water. I don't know if the council has received the letter from Castro Valley MAC, supporting the water from the city of Hayward, because East Bay Med cannot and will not be able to supply the water for this development. It's on a loop system. Water's great. As my husband said, we live in the middle of it. We're totally 100% supportive of it. And it will mean the trail. It will mean also more housing, although the impact is low in the area. It's a half-built area, and it is 25 homes. It's not going to be for the first-time home buyer, probably not, but it will free up those spaces, badly needed spaces, for the median-level homes in our area. It will not impact the Hayward School District. It will only impact the Castro Valley School District, but it gives the benefits to the city of Hayward. And the infrastructure is at the base of our driveway. It's in the street. AT&T's in the base of the driveway, and PG&E. We're just ready to go. We've got a great developer, Green, mitigating a lot of creek issues that we have in the back that were created by the previous developer. If we lose this developer, we lose that mitigation. So it's a win-win for everybody. Otherwise, Alameda County has to take up the bond and pay for it when it expires. So please, we ask again that you support this and direct the city manager to sign an at-will letter, will-serve letter for this project, and so we can move forward and keep this great developer that we have. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Councilmember Bichotte has a question.
Not of the speaker, but of the city manager. I've been following this issue for quite some time, and I know it must be more complex than I understand, but I know where Mr. Keller lives, and it's, you have the llama pond right up there, right? It's way up high. He receives Hayward water. I know there are other people in the Fairview area that receive Hayward water, and I'm just having difficulty understanding why this development, and I travel that every day to church, or every Sunday to church, and I see this development that's just been stagnant for years and years, and as a city, it seems to me that we ought to be helping these individuals from Castro Valley. Can you explain it?
Sure. I mean, I can't actually get into the details right now. I am in the process of setting up a meeting with the developer. I know our staff has been meeting with them and trying to resolve the issues, but that has not been successful. So there's been a request for me to meet with the developer. I will be meeting with the fire chief and the public works director, because there's issues not just with water supply, but also water pressure, and making sure that there's adequate service for the homes up there. We want to ensure that there's adequate fire protection service, adequate water flow to ensure that. So it's a complicated issue. So as soon as I meet with the developer, I'm happy to provide a briefing to the council.
Yeah, I figured it was complicated, but I appreciate the fact that you are meeting with the developer, and I hope we come to some kind of agreement on this.
Great, thank you. We appreciate your support.
Thank you. Diane Fagalde, and she'll be followed by Joe Ramos.
Good evening, my name is Diane Fagalde, and I live at 27169 Tyrell. Okay, I talked to some of the council people. We're trying to find a building here in South Hayward, or some of the buildings to get rented or sold. I found one right here on West Jennison, but the address is another address. I got all the information. Part of it's a supermarket. It used to be a supermarket. It's been closed for about 2 years or so. And the upstairs is three apartments upstairs above the bedroom, above the building. I went and looked at it myself on Friday. I got all the information of the square footage, the real estate, all the information to give to Kelly to take it to economic development. It took me about 2.5 hours. I was on the computer going from one part of the store to the other, to the real estates, to find out all the information, the square footage, who the owner was, how much the rent would be. They also suggested it would be good for either a restaurant, offices, coffee shop. So I did check on all that. I started to call and I says, well, I'll give it to Kelly, she can handle it from here or whatever department. But it is a nice place. It's right here on Tennyson. I mentioned it to Zermania, I don't know how many times, about this building, but I didn't know how big it was. It used to be an Indian grocery store at one time. So it's been empty for a couple of years. So it's really nice. I just went and looked at it, looked through the windows and to see how big it was, and it's huge. I mean, you could put a coffee shop and a restaurant in there too. I mean, that's how big it is. And I thought it was like a Starbucks or any type of a restaurant or something. And also, I'm waiting to find out what we're going to do about getting a wool market here in Hayward. I talked to several people to get a wool market where Mervin's was. It would be fantastic. I sure don't want to have to be driving out to Pleasanton or see anybody else when we can get one right here in Hayward. So if somebody can give me the information of the developer and stuff, I'll be willing to do the talking.
Economic Development Department thanks you for your help.
I said I'd be willing to do the talking to see what we can get done.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'll give this information to Kelly.
Great. We really appreciate that. Joe Ramos, followed by Lacey Amodai.
Good evening, Hayward. Let's try this again. Good evening, Hayward. Good evening. All right. And City Council, how you doing? My buddies Edmenio, Marvin, Sarah. Oh, Sarah, you're sitting next to my other buddy. So, I won't mention the other names. If I didn't mention your name because I don't know you. If I do mention your name, I know you. Be careful. So I'm here to talk about vision. Where there is no vision, the people perish. Okay, just in case you don't know me, my name is Joe Orlando Ramos, and I'm running for Hayward City Council. You know? And if I don't see things improve, I may end up running for mayor. We could do a write-in campaign. But today, I don't have very much time. I want to get you guys excited. I want you to see what we can do in this town. First of all, we have two people that are the incumbents. One of them is Sarah. The other one is Marvin. Marvin, you're a nice guy, but you gotta go, just like Sarah. Okay? Sarah, the articles I've read, it's very hard to be partial and be a city council member when you're taking money from developers. And so that comes to my point. I'm gonna talk about two things today. I'm gonna talk about the G word. Where's my friend Wynn at? She started at 5 Gs. I don't have time to get to 5 Gs, I'm talking about the 1 G. And it's not, I usually talk about God, gangs, graffiti, or guns. Today I'm going to talk about gentrification, the big G. Gentrification is what's going to happen here if you don't keep your eyes open. They're moving people in here that the face of this neighborhood is going to change. They're going to have all the yuppies, all the people from Silicon Valley here, and it's going to happen. So keep your eyes open, okay? I'm just quote from this article I read the other day. It was May 29th. The writer's name was Alicia Lawrence, and she wrote in the ebcitizen.com about a meeting that was held here, and it was about the landlords arguing for unlimited power. And then she said they used a code word. The code word, she says, was gang members and drug dealers, which were code words for the brown and black people. Okay. She also said, I'll end with this, she said that there was racially charged comments made by the landlords, but what amazed her was the city council didn't say anything. Are you surprised? I'm not. The last thing I'm going to talk about is Hayward's Measure T. Okay, who knows about that? If you don't, look it up. You're going to be hearing about it. But they want to increase the real property transfer tax from $450 per $1,000 to $850.
Thank you, Mr. Ramos.
Thank you very much. God bless you.
Lacey.
All right,
Amodo. Mr. Ramos, please be quiet. Your time is up. Lacey Amodo. Oh, okay. Is she here?
All right, hello Mayor, hello council members, hello public. I'm going to try to make this very quick because I know people are here to talk about Tennyson, and I actually have to apologize that I can't stay, so I'm going to be following this when I get home. I read some of the other earlier complete street plans, and I've seen some pretty forward-thinking tenets of urban planning, so really great topic. So quickly, my comment here is about the continued need for rent control. My name is Lacey Almade. I'm a volunteer member of the Hayward Collective. So my comment, even though it's different, is related to the conversation tonight because it all circles back to thinking about how we can plan so that working class people and communities of color can realistically call Hayward a welcome and stabilizing home. It takes steps toward a more just and equitable city. We need to change our rent control law. Our rent control law is broken and obsolete, covering 1,000 units just now, and all these comments I am making that acknowledging the vote that you all took in May, acknowledging that you're going to be talking about the moratorium, because that's just 1,000 units. I'm talking about an overall broken and obsolete rent control law. And we have to judge you as the council collectively on the actions you have taken, not your words. And when we look to your action, the only conclusion that we can take up to this point is that you are decidedly and firmly opposed to the expansion of rent control protections, which means protections for renters. So we are here to say that no plan for a city is complete without planning for social justice and inclusion. And to get there, Hayward needs rent control, and we haven't seen any action toward that up to now. I hope to be proven wrong. I really hope to be proven wrong. Now I suspect some, or many, or most of you are tired of hearing this because we've been here. The reason you took that vote was in a response to a proposal from the community, not your own initiative. But the thing is that we are more tired, and we are more than tired. We are infuriated and frankly heartbroken as we continue to meet community members on the brink of being displaced and seeing the council with reluctance to take action. So that is why, as we continue to meet community members on the brink of displacement, we will continue to be here because that is our responsibility. So we're going to continue to be here. We've been out in the community door knocking, and we're going to keep fighting as we keep seeing injustice and inequality. Thank you.
Marissa?
Highland Fells council members, I'm going to speak about your Tennyson corridor improvement. It's nonsense. Because out of the 472 houses that you're going to build on this property, you have only very few designated to low income. This is City of Hayward. This is Southside, okay? We don't have a lot of money on this side of town. We need more rent control, as this lady was saying, because I've been in with this rent control argument, and It's broken. It needs to be fixed. We need more low-income houses. We have so much blight in the city that we could, instead of building new, how about we fix what's broken, make places for people that are homeless so they have a place to live, fix up a lot of these blighted buildings so low-income people have a place to live. This is just getting outrageous. You guys keep approving Mervyn's housing, this over here at Tennyson. Have you guys ever been out here on Mission Boulevard, see how traffic is between 3 and 6 o'clock? It's horrendous. When you only have to go like a half a mile, it's bumper to bumper. You think bringing this thing that you're gonna build it by BART, that people are gonna take BART? That's a freaking pipe dream. I'm sorry. I just have to be honest. Okay? It's just gonna add more traffic, more congestion to the end of the city, this side of the city. I live between Industrial and Tennyson, and this just, I mean, I don't know how many of you live down in this area, but I don't think too many. Okay, yes, I do know Zemanio, because I've known him from before. But, you know, I agree. We do need new blood. A lot of this needs to go. This city council, you guys ain't working for this city. Not for the people. You're working for yourselves. Because I don't see anything that you guys are going to talk about tonight where you're working for us. Not at all. I'm just frustrated as a person that's lived in Hayward since 1972. You know, nothing is getting better. It's just getting worse, and you guys just keep band-aiding, band-aiding, band-aiding. Let's get real problems solved. You know, I'm just really frustrated. And no, and both your measures, they suck, and you guys keep adding more stuff to the little people to pay for the big taxes. No more, we're done.
All right, thank you, everybody. And I have no further cards for public comment, so we're going to move on to our, yes, and Councilmember Lamberth.
Good evening, everybody. Yes, okay. Good evening, everybody. I am thrilled that we are here tonight, and I'm so excited that all of you are here, and that you brought all of your passion here. I am hoping that I get to hear all of tonight's meeting. I chair a statewide policy committee that meets tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. in Long Beach, and so I need to get on a flight at some point to get there. So I will stay as long as I can here. But if I leave a little early, I apologize in advance. Thank you.
Okay. So I didn't realize you were asking for public comment. Okay, thank you. So we will move on now to, we have one item on our consent calendar tonight, and I'm going to pull that item off the consent calendar. It just briefly, is there anyone from staff who wants to introduce it, or?
I can just do a very brief, this item is simply a request for the council to provide direction to our Assistant City Manager, Maria Hurtado, who will be traveling also down to Long Beach to vote on 2 resolutions at the League of California Cities annual conference. As no council members were able to attend that conference and the Friday voting session, the council delegated that authority to Ms. Hurtado. So these are the 2 resolutions that the League will be considering. The first one is a resolution to basically help protect local authority and revenue authority, as well as local control over land use policies. And so for the League to pursue that as a policy option. Staff is supporting that policy resolution and recommends that the council support a yes vote on that. And then the second is a resolution of the League declaring support to repeal the preemption that prevents local governments from regulating pesticides. So again, local control, allowing local governments to determine how to regulate pesticides. And so this would be, I'm just looking at the recommendation, and staff is supportive of this resolution as well. So that's the very brief staff overview.
Thank you, and I would like to make a motion that the council recommend a yes vote on both of these motions, and if there's a second from Councilmember Salinas, I'd like to speak to that. I've heard some frustration here tonight. Public comments is not the time for debate, so we haven't responded. But I think all of us would have a lot to say about a lot of this. We work very hard up here to pay attention to the problems in this community and to come up with solutions. However, we are not we are not dictators of what happens here in Hayward. We live in a democracy where we have state and federal regulations that we deal with. In recent years, the state legislature has increasingly put limitations on what cities can do in their own jurisdictions, what kinds of laws they can make about things. And right now, I heard the comments about the housing on Mission Boulevard, and yet we are being highly pressured by the state to build housing at a much denser level than most of the housing that we've built in the past here, to the point where the state is so frustrated, not necessarily with Hayward, but with many cities who are not, in their eyes, not building enough of the right kind of housing, that they are passing laws that would take our ability to regulate local planning and zoning away from us and away from you, because when they take it away from us, what they take away are the public hearings here in your jurisdiction where you live, and our ability to hear what you have to say about a proposal and how it should be. And so I'm strongly recommending that, and I'm pretty sure my colleagues will join me in that, to approve these resolutions. The first one especially, that would have the league looking into yet another ballot measure to perhaps restrict the state's ability to take away local authority from cities for land use planning. Just this morning, actually, I was in Sacramento meeting with a member of the governor's staff to lobby him to veto a bill that has been passed by the legislature that would give BART pretty much complete control over building on their own property that they own, and take that ability to regulate that land use and conform to city zoning plans away from cities like Hayward that have BART stations in their cities, and the BART stations have property. Now Hayward has partnered with BART at both of our BART stations to build higher density housing near BART stations, right in the Tennyson area right here with the Eden Housing Project and the market rate rental project that were built. And then downtown, early on, we were an early transit-oriented developer that built, somewhat higher density housing around our BART station. And back in the 1990s, the townhouses were considered high density. Now they're not so much. So, but we're out there early on this issue, and so we're battling too with our sort of lords at the state level to say no. We want to have a say, and we want our residents to have a say in what happens here. So with that, I'll ask if any other council members have comments on this. Councilmember Salinas.
Yeah, I just wanted to, concur everything with what the mayor said. And, while we all can come together and take our licks up here, and which is, sometimes we deserve it, and I'll admit that. But at the same time, as the students at Chabot College have demonstrated over the last couple of months, is that they've been venturing out to make sure we don't get too much feedback. They've been venturing out to the AC Transit Board meetings and really, advocating for, restoring the bus service out here. And so I would just encourage everybody, look up who our BART director is. I mean, how many of you know who our BART director representative here is in this area? McFarland, right? And so so these are the people. Mark Williams from AC Transit is our representative, here in Hayward. So it's important to engage these boards, and it's important to engage these boards with as much velocity and force as you do at all the other meetings around town. But the big issue here, of course, is local control. We do not want to be usurped with our local decision-making authority, and that's what's happening on a lot of different fronts by both the county and the state. Thank you. So yes, I will be supporting.
And I would just add to that, Councilmember Salinas, that while I just learned this today, while the majority of the BART board apparently supports this bill, our own representatives, Mr. McPartland and Tom Blaylock, who I think represents this area here, both signed a letter along with one other BART board member from a different area against this law. So our BART representatives are supporting us. Unfortunately, the majority of their board isn't. Anyone else on this? Okay, with that we will, I'll call for the vote on this issue, and I think we're going to have to, let me just ask, I'll ask for a voice vote. All in favor? Aye. Is there anyone opposed? Okay, that item is passed unanimously. Thank you. Okay, now we're going to move on to our main item tonight that we're here to talk about, and that is our work session which is an update from our staff on implementation of the 3 council strategic initiatives and 2-year action plans for complete streets, complete communities, and Tennyson corridor, and the Tennyson corridor improvements. And we're going to start with a report from City Manager McAdoo. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm just going to briefly kick it off and give some background on this work effort for those in the audience that have not been following the Council's setting of the strategic initiatives. In November of 2016, the City Council held a retreat to basically discuss what the priorities of the Council are. And for a long time, the Council has had 4 main priorities: safe, clean, green, and thriving. And when the Council came together to talk about those priorities, a lot of discussion happened about kind of what does that mean? What does it mean to be a safe community, a clean community, a green community, and a thriving community? And from that, a lot of brainstorming took place, and basically there was 3 initiatives that the Council really wanted to focus on for the coming 2 years, and those were a complete communities initiative, a complete streets initiative, and the Tennyson corridor initiative. So what we mean by a complete community is a community that has basically all of the aspects that we're all talking about today: housing for all, parks and amenities, commercial spaces, and walkable communities, and a lot of the other amenities that people think about when you think about all of the things that go into a complete community. On the second initiative, the Complete Streets, is an effort to really, we've heard a lot about traffic and safety concerns, and how do we make our streets safe for all users of the roadway: bicycles, pedestrians, automobiles, and how do we work on improving our street networks in the community. And then the third strategic initiative is the Tennyson corridor. And that was actually, while complete communities and complete streets, there's a lot of projects that the city staff has already been working on with respect to those. The Tennyson corridor initiative was new, and really a vision of this council to focus on this part of town, when there's been a lot of, everyone has acknowledged a lot of financial investment that has gone into other parts of the community, and really trying to look at how do we invest time and resources in South Hayward and really make a difference in the South Hayward community. So the council selected those 3 strategic initiatives in November of 2016, and staff came back. We actually put together 3 cross-departmental teams that would focus on the 3 strategic initiatives, and it's been a great effort to watch these teams work together, work with the community to try and develop these 2-year action plans. And in June of 2017, the council actually adopted the 2-year action plans. They were included with the council agenda packet. If you didn't get a chance to take a look at them, I would encourage you to do so, because very comprehensive work plan, very ambitious work plan. And these teams have been working so hard over the last couple of years to make a lot of progress, and I know have engaged with a lot of you in the community, particularly on the Tennyson corridor. So I'm excited to have everyone here today from the co-chairs of our strategic initiative teams to make the staff presentation. I'm sure we'll hear a lot from some of the community members who've been involved, which I'm very excited about. and I look forward to hearing the updates from the teams. The co-chairs are gonna go through the presentation. What we've said is we'll go through the entire staff presentation, then, as the mayor had mentioned, then hear from public comments, and then be available to answer any questions that come up during that, and then hear council comment and questions. So the staff co-chairs are going to kick it off, and I'm going to turn it over to Alan Bacalar, who is a Senior Civil Engineer in Development Services, and he is going to kick off the presentation. I just also wanted to acknowledge all of the co-chairs of the teams who are here. Rod Afonso, our Streets Manager, Alan, Lucky Narain, who is a Senior Management Analyst in Public Works, Richard Neal, who is our Landscape Manager in Maintenance Services, Mary Thomas, a Management Analyst in the Fire Department, and Sandy Wong, who is an IT Solutions Analyst in our Information Technology Department. So as I said, a very diverse group of staff who have been involved in these initiatives. So with that, I'll turn it over to Alan.
Thank you, Kelly. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. This presentation is a 6-month update and progress report on the implementation of the 2-year action plans for the 3 strategic initiatives. As Kelly described, we have a bunch of co-chairs listed as follows, as shown on the screen. I want to point out that this team is composed of many different disciplines and is multiple departments throughout the city as well. Not listed there is we have subject matter experts with us tonight. Sarah Bowser, Planning Manager from Development Services, Fred Kelly, Transportation Manager from Public Works, and Christina Morales, Housing Manager from Library and Community Services, and they will be presenting as well. As Kelly noted, back on June in 2017, Council adopted 2-year work plans. We are currently in year 1 into the work plans, and this update describes our achievements over the last 6 months and will highlight focus areas identified by staff to complete the 2-year work plans over the next year. The framework of this presentation is such that the updates will be presented, starting with the Tennyson Corridor, followed by complete communities and complete streets. And following the presentations, there will be a public comment period, followed by council discussion and questions at the end of the presentation. With that, I would like to turn it over to Richard Neal to begin the presentation on the Tennyson Corridor.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to say, I'd like to wish everybody a good evening, Mayor, Council, members of the public. It's kind of an easy subject for me. Tennyson Corridor appearance is something that's close to myself and my department because a lot of my guys live in the city and we actually get a chance to make a difference in where we live. So if you look up on the screen, the South Hayward Park, both sides of the Tennyson underpass have been landscaped. We put about 60 trees and over 200 5-gallon shrubs and probably at least 150 yards of mulch to improve that area. And we've also began to upgrade the medians. You can see my workers there working. So what we're doing in these medians is a great opportunity for us to really upgrade, because as most of you know, a lot of our landscaping and hardscaping here is well over 30, 40 years old. So we're going to be going through using weather-based irrigation, brand new plant material, subsurface for water savings. And it should be really beautiful. I think we're going to make a big impact. We're using very nice plant material, large mature trees. We should have color throughout the corridor. And we'll continue working on this until probably throughout FY19 and into FY20. Another great aspect to the downtown is the addition of the Streets Team pilot. For some of you people that may not know what the Downtown Streets Team consists of, it consists of volunteers and they recruit homeless from within our city. So we're taking our own homeless and they're actually working with them to get them housed, train them how to go to a job every day and actually be part of the community. So together, these guys are cleaning only a few days a week, Wednesday through Friday, 8 to 12 p.m. They've already removed 18,275 gallons of debris removed from our streetscape. And these people really do great work. So out of the 31 members, 10 people out of that have been employed past their 90-day mark, and 17 people have been transferred from homeless to housed, which is a good accomplishment. Last year, the city had also dedicated funds to facade improvement up and down the Tennyson corridor. So there was a lot of outreach done, meeting with business owners. And this could be anything from painting, lighting, landscaping, anything they can do to improve the fronts of their businesses. So far, 16 businesses have been approved for $10,000 each. So hopefully we'll see a lot of improvement here in the next year or so. Another aspect of Tennyson, and actually it's widespread through the whole city, is our public arts and mural program. One of the examples up there was one that we did at Eldridge. And the bottom example is actually one that's going to be on Tennyson. It's going to be a butterfly mural wall. And then you can actually take selfies, and it should be a very nice place to go. And I believe that's at the corner of Tennyson and Patrick. Okay, I'll leave you with Lucky.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lucky Narain. I'm a senior management analyst, and I'm the staff liaison project manager for the South Hayward Family Center project, Youth and Family Center project. There's been significant progress in the past couple of months. We've had 8 architects bid, submit proposals to do design work on this very location that we're in today. We've narrowed that down to 4 architectural firms. They are Brick, Dahlin, Ross, Drusen, Kusenberry, and Nolan Tam. Later on this month, on September 27th, we will narrow that down to 1 firm. And also of significant note is further down in this park, we will have the Mia's Dream Park, which is spearheaded by Hard. And that is making significant progress, and they're looking to break ground later on this fall. That's all. Thank you.
So I'm going to talk about a couple of resiliency programs that we've implemented in the last year since the initiatives were launched, and then talk about the vision plan. So first, starting this year, so we just launched this program, and there were some flyers in the back. We've done a CERT program in the past, so Community Emergency Response Team, which required coming to City Hall and going through extensive training on how to be a community emergency responder. There's a request to scale that down to make it more approachable for church groups or community groups that wanted to have a program for their entire group. And so this is a 4-hour curriculum. We will come to you instead of having you come to us. It's free. So you can sign up if you go to our website, hayward-ca.gov/nerd. You can sign up. We're hoping to do 240 people in at least 12 groups this year, and we're focusing on South Hayward entirely. So that was the funding that we got for council. So if you're interested in getting your community groups trained up, let us know. What you see on the map there on the screen is all of the people who have gone through the CERT training over the last 3 years. So it's actually pretty good representation throughout the city, and we're hoping to use the graduates of CERT to help with the NERT trainings as well. So start creating that network around emergency response training. In addition, we've done some very specific water and energy efficiency work here in South Hayward for the last year. The East Bay Energy Watch Smart Light program visited 199 small businesses along the Tennyson corridor, so all South Hayward businesses to see how they're doing in terms of their energy efficiency and if there are savings to be made. And they've so far done 34 energy audits where they've been able to upgrade these businesses' lights and other fixtures to help save them money. In addition, as one of the public comments mentioned, We have our California Youth Energy Solutions service that we have every summer, but this summer we specifically focused in South Hayward, and they for the first time really wanted to focus more on renters than homeowners if possible, or at least equal. So they took the initiative to canvass the whole Lord Tennyson apartment area, and they've had a great experience and reached a lot more people, so appreciate them doing that. So the vision plan work, we started, the last update we gave was in January, and we hadn't really done much work yet. We had just gotten a grant from the Davenport Institute to do community outreach work. So since then, in partnership with the Chabot Student Initiative Center, we've done quite a bit of outreach work and a lot more to come. So we did launch, we launched a website that has an interactive map. So for community members who haven't gone, you actually can post your own, what you think are the best assets in the neighborhood, what you think, what are pieces of history that you remember about the neighborhood. If you go to the website, hayward-ca.gov/Tennyson Thrives, you can post your own thoughts and ideas on our interactive map. In addition, there's a survey to take, and you can sign up to get email updates. And so the students interviewed one-on-one or in small groups up to 200 community members, including a lot of stakeholder community groups. And then they did the art show at City Hall in May, which I think many of you, or all the council members saw. And we will be showing that art throughout Hayward this coming year. So we'll let you guys know when it's coming up in different places. And then finally, the summer students at Chabot took the data that all of these community members have shared with us and started to come up with opportunity areas that we can put into the vision plan. So I'm going to share those with you tonight, the draft ones. Those can be changed as we receive feedback, but we have come up with some for you. So the work for next year, or this coming year, we've already started. So again, working with the Chabot Student Initiative Center to start thinking of ideas for the corridor. What do people want to see? What are some solutions to meet some of the challenges along the corridor? They did their first event at Palmacia Fest. We had great turnout. There were, I think, probably 300 community members there. The students proposed different projects that they thought met some of the challenges and ideas that the community had, and then allowed the community to vote and sign up for the projects. And so received some good feedback on what was popular, what the community really wanted to see. And they'll continue doing this type of work throughout the fall. The way that we're dividing the vision plan up moving forward is that the Chabot Student Initiative Center will focus on brainstorming and testing solutions that really have to do with human programs, social programs, and partnerships. And then we're actively exploring, I think we're likely pursuing a Cal Poly partnership to do the design, more physical design elements of the vision plan, which would happen in April. So the next steps would be presenting to council in June of 2019 about where the solutions that we've come up with thus far. We would then allow the community to prioritize which solutions they think should come first, and then go back to council in the fall, in a year. So the 5 proposed opportunity areas are split into 2 chunks. So for each opportunity area, we focused on investment in place. So again, this is the physical design elements about how communities are designed, the infrastructure, and the land use. And then for each opportunity area, there's also the partnership and social programs element. And so you can go through those 5. The screen is a little bit small, so I will read them. The first one is dynamic public spaces and amenities, as well as engaged and well-resourced communities. The second one is unique neighborhood identities, as well as vibrant and proud communities. The third one is green and resilient environments, as well as healthy and prepared communities. The fourth one is diverse transportation options, as well as active and connected communities. And the last one is diverse housing options, as well as stable and rooted communities. And so we'll give you a chance to comment on these at the end of the evening. And then secondly, we also have drafted proposed focus nodes. So this would be for the design, the people that are doing, the students from Cal Poly that will be doing some design works and design shreds with the community. focusing in on different sections of the corridor, since it's not one obviously continuous neighborhood, and that's something the community has identified, is that there's multiple neighborhoods along this stretch. So we have proposed some here tonight, and these can change as we hear more feedback from people, but I'll go through them. So the first one is on the west side, really focusing on the intersection of Hesperian and Tennyson, where the old Kaiser building was. That would include the Mount Eden Park, as well as some of the other parks that are in the surrounding neighborhood. It has a commercial area there. Most of these nodes each have their own commercial elements. The next one, this maybe isn't a node, but focusing a lot, thinking about the design of the intersection of 880 and Tennyson, since there have been so many issues with that intersection. The next one would be focusing on sort of directly after the 880s, so we're looking at the Weeks Community Park, the Weeks Library, as well as a lot of the Glad Tidings properties would be in there, and there is a specific commercial strip in that middle one. And then the second one would be where we're currently here right now. There's a commercial area here, as well as, the Mia's new playground will be here, and the new Eden Youth and Family, or the new South Hayward Family Center. And then the one for most of the east will be really surrounded around the BART station and sort of more of a little bit of the higher density housing that's going in right now. So those are the suggestions. These came out of the community, and we're looking for feedback after you hear the rest of the presentation. So I'm going to hand it over now to the Complete Communities Strategic Initiative, starting with Christina, our housing manager. And we're going to do a staff switch.
I'm the Housing Division Manager. In housing, we have been focusing on production of affordable housing. We released a notice of funding availability for the development of affordable housing in April. We received 4 applications that will, We received 4 applications for affordable housing development, totaling requests for 346 units. Of those units, there's 114 units proposed to provide housing to extremely low-income families. Of those, 61 units would provide supportive housing to homeless, and an additional 61 units would provide supportive housing to people with special needs. We would be returning to City Council in October with funding recommendations and a determination of how many of those projects that we could fund. I believe it's just a stock photo. So we have also been looking at the issue of rent stabilization. In May, we provided a clarification to the residential rent stabilization ordinance to clarify that the eviction for cause protections covered all of the units under the ordinance. So approximately over 14,000 units are protected for eviction for cause. City Council also approved an 18-month moratorium on the vacancy decontrol so that we could evaluate the process of vacancy decontrol. We have released a request for proposal just this month, and we will expect to be reviewing those proposals over the next coming months. We will return to City Council with an update in February.
Thanks, Christina. So my name is Sarah Bowser, and I'm the planning manager with the city. And I'm going to present sort of the next steps as it relates to the regulatory toolkit component of the Complete Communities Initiative. In July of 2014, the City Council adopted a brand new general plan for the city of Hayward. And what came out of that general plan was a series of implementation measures really getting at trying to create the idea of complete communities. But part of that is also looking at our regulations and to see where there might be some potential updates so that we can get at that. So one of the first projects that we've been working on is related to an update to our park and lieu fees. These are fees that are charged on developers who build new residential developments in the community. They're required to offset the impacts on our park system. Those fees are collected when they come in for building permits, and then our special district, the Hayward Area Recreation and Park District, ends up utilizing those funds when they're making improvements to parks in our community. So they are a good thing, and we definitely want to make sure that we're continuing to work with our partner in HARD as they're moving forward with their master plan. But one of the things that we needed to do was to look at whether or not the fees that we're charging are appropriate and are keeping pace with the needs that our community has for the parks and open spaces. So we worked on issuing an RFP to get a consultant that could look at and do a nexus analysis to really look at, are our fees that we're charging appropriate, or should they be something different? Should we look at different tiering systems? And so we're right in the middle of that process. We have a consultant on board. We brought community attributes on board, and they are working on some of the background analysis right now. And we're anticipating that we will continue to work on this study and bring something back to council in the first part of 2019. One of the other items that we're working on are some updates to our form-based codes. So to provide some background, the city has zoning ordinance, right? And the zoning ordinance identifies properties in the city and lets you know, based on your zoning district, what sorts of uses are allowed and how you should develop that property. Along our Mission Boulevard corridor, we have a regulatory tool or a zoning tool called a form-based code. And this covers the bulk of Mission Boulevard, south of downtown, all the way down to industrial. These codes are not that old, but what we have found is we've really struggled. They've been really challenging. They're a little complicated. There's been a lot of development that has come in and really looked at it and had a hard time trying to figure out how they're going to develop under this code. And there's been a lot of requests for exceptions and deviations. So we thought, this really needs to be looked at. And at council's direction, we've been working on trying to update that. We have hired a consultant, Lisa Wise Consulting. She was selected and her contract was approved by City Council in May. And we held a kickoff meeting with the internal staff in July. And they are going to be continuing to look at opportunities to improve that code so that we might start realizing some of the development potential of the properties within that form-based code area. One of the other items related to the regulatory toolkit is our Shoreline Master Plan. One of the biggest concerns, obviously, for cities or jurisdictions that have property along the shoreline is the impact of rising sea levels. And so one of the things that we were successful on was getting a grant from Caltrans, totaling over $500,000 to complete this study. The project is going to kick off in October with a consultant that we'll be hiring to assist the city with that work. And we're estimating completion in February of 2021. And we're really excited about this. And this is all working as a part of the Hayward Area Shoreline Planning Agency work, which is a joint effort with the city, East Bay Regional Park District, and HARD. And we're really excited about this project, although we're in the very early stages of this one. One of the other things that we are in the process of is really looking at our industrial district regulations, trying to see where there might be some improvements made to our industrial district. The draft regulations are currently under review by staff, and they will be soon be available for the public to review. We are anticipating holding some study sessions with our Planning Commission in early October, and then we will bring that to council for some study sessions in likely early 2019. But the draft regulations will be available sooner and available for both council, commission, and the community to review and provide some feedback to staff. And one of the last items that I wanted to talk about out of the regulatory toolkit is related to our vacant property ordinance and registration program. This is something that we've heard quite a bit about, especially as buildings become vacant and then what happens, and then it becomes this magnet for maybe less than desirable activities happening. And so one of the things that we are looking at is trying to determine whether or not we could establish an ordinance that would look at enforcement processes, really to protect the neighborhoods from what happens when these buildings become vacant and you're left with this vacant building in your neighborhood. So the ordinance right now is in a very early draft stage with staff. It still needs to be reviewed. There will be a significant amount of empathy work that is going to be done out in the community related to this. There'll be surveys, there'll be door-to-door surveys, so we will come out in the neighborhoods, we'll be doing surveys at City Hall, but we will come out to the community and get some additional feedback. And then the plan is to hopefully present something to council sometime this winter. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Fred Kelly, who will cover Complete Streets.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm Fred Kelly, the Transportation Division Manager in Public Works. I'm going to try and be brief tonight. In January of 2018, staff began a long-awaited update to the 2017 Bike Master Plan. Although staff has been very successful in the last several years of adding additional bike infrastructure, we need a new comprehensive and robust guiding document, and that's what this update will do. We had, as I mentioned, a kickoff in January. Existing condition analysis has been completed, and we are right now in the process of a robust outreach effort in the community, both online and in person. There is a flyer on the table. This Friday, one of the outreach efforts is a community outreach effort which will commence at Weeks Park at 9 a.m. to 12:30. It is a walk audit to identify bike and pedestrian needs in the Tennyson corridor, in addition to a Safe Streets workshop. This is the flyer, and I think there should be some on the back table. And in January, we'll circle back with CIC to present the results of need analysis and community feedback, and also provide the consultant's prioritization framework. I think in almost every neighborhood in the city has been impacted by speeding and safety concerns. Given the limited amount of resources available, staff helped develop a robust program to address these challenges. In July, council adopted the city's first neighborhood traffic calming program, and that program incorporates a collaborative effort of 4 E's, which is education, empowerment, engineering, and enforcement. It evaluates and prioritizes proposed improvements. In November of this year, we will roll out our website for the community's use, and also there will be an associated media campaign to go along with that rollout. The next 2 projects reflect our ongoing efforts to incorporate complete streets policy in our roadway design. The Mission Boulevard Phase 2 and Phase 3 projects, which I'm sure you're aware of the Phase 2 project that is currently underway, from Industrial Parkway to the Union City border. The project incorporates complete street design and providing narrower travel lanes, wider sidewalks, protected bike lanes, and landscape medians. Barring any unforeseen delays, the project should be completed by September of 2019. The Phase 3 project on the northern end of the city from A Street to the Alameda County border, we had much less right-of-way to much less wiggle room, so it was a challenge to incorporate this type of policy where we accommodate both bike, pedestrian, parking, and auto travel, but with the help of the Council Infrastructure Committee, in July, we presented several alternatives, and Council picked one alternative, or the committee picked an alternative. We anticipate completion of the design for Phase 3 in April of 2019, and construction to begin in the fall of 2019. Another complete street project is the Main Street project from D Street to McIver. We are currently in the process of engaging residents and business owners to provide feedback on various conceptual alternatives. The plan is to begin design in the fall of 2019, and we'll be circling back with Council Infrastructure Committee in January of 2020. I just want to mention that with all complete street projects, there are trade-offs. And the challenge is, how do we incorporate bike, pedestrian, auto, and transit needs all within a constrained right-of-way? It's extremely challenging, but our goal is on each of these projects is to balance all the mobility needs in as equitable manner as possible. With the Tennyson corridor presentation, there was mention of visioning, and as part of that visioning effort, there is a feasibility study that will be completed as part of that effort in trying to determine what should Tennyson Road look like, what should the cross-section look like, what should be included, how do we utilize that right-of-way and incorporate, as I mentioned, the needs for transit, bicycles, auto, and pedestrians. And so that will be in conjunction with the Tennyson Road study. But there's also one other feasibility study that's going to be going on, the Hayward Boulevard feasibility study. This feasibility study is designed to address the constant speeding and safety concerns on Hayward Boulevard. We anticipate a kickoff for the study in January of 2019, basically to gather community input and further refine what we have are three development concepts, three existing development concepts. And lastly, one of the most critical projects that we currently have underway is the Citywide intersection study. The purpose of the study is to determine how we deal with existing and future congestion and safety issues. And we'll be developing measures to address deficiencies, both existing and future, in a multimodal fashion. How we support transit, how we support walking, and how we support bicycling in addition to automobile travel. The most important component of this evaluation will be to determine not only to develop a laundry list of improvement projects, but also a cost for these projects. And once that cost is developed, I think probably the most critical aspect of this will be to determine or consider internal mechanisms to fund these projects. Will it be a transportation impact fee? It's something that we discussed with the various council subcommittees. We'll be presenting to the subcommittees and council different or various measures by which to fund these improvements that may, again, include some form of development impact fee. And with that, I will turn it over to Sandy.
So, what we learned from completing these strategic initiatives is that the interdepartment teams was very insightful. We also learned that we need to engage all stakeholders in the beginning of planning so that we can make sure that when things that we implement and during these projects can be maintained for long term and whatever needs to be identified as feasible by people who are actually going to be maintaining and implementing these projects. Second, we also learned that when we work on new plans, we need to think about all the resources required for the long-term maintenance and operations to sustain the desired outcomes. The third, everybody working on the projects were very enthusiastic, passionate, and driven. when we created for all these projects that we're working on, but we've learned that we're more effective if we're focusing on a few projects versus many projects. Fourth, we learned that the budget presentations and the work sessions that we have should incorporate the strategic initiatives. The next steps that we believe that we need to do is the City Council will have a retreat in early 2019 to review these priorities and initiatives.
And that's the end of the staff presentation. So if the council so desires to open it up for public comments at this point.
Okay, and I do have some cards, and I think the city clerk has a couple of others, but to make sure that Councilmember Lamnon does get to make her comments before she has to leave for her plane, I hope you'll indulge me and we'll let her go first, and then maybe she'll get to hear some of the comments too. So, Councilmember Lamnon.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that. And, best laid plans. This was not the original plan, but it's what we've got right now. And what I promise to the community and to my colleagues on council is anything I don't hear tonight, I will go back and review on the video. So your comments are still being heard. And of course, everybody else is listening as well. So first of all, a lot of appreciation to our city staff. Great learning, great work. Thank you to the community partners who've been involved so far, and I look forward to the continued involvement of the community. So lots and lots of excitement there. I don't have a ton of comments because you covered a lot of what I was hoping to see happen. On the complete streets, within the traffic calming measures, also some disruptions for street racing, donuts. I'm hearing a lot of comments about that, and you can see the marks throughout our city about that. And so I know I got a great response about some of the high cost ways that we change our intersections, but I'm also interested in maybe along the lines of kind of the pop-up bike lanes. Are there similar things that could be put in the neighborhood? I don't know yet. I haven't even started researching. I'm bringing it forward tonight as a consideration to think about, are there some low-cost ways or community-driven ways that we could disrupt that in a positive way. Also, I have requested that we form a ILC, which is a partnership with AC Transit, so that we can have some community meetings as we look at bus transit problems that were brought forward this evening, as well as other things, and making sure that those get vetted in the community before just getting decided. I know we already have a JPA with BART, so this would allow some of that same collaborative talk and community input. In terms of complete communities, that one of the things we're looking at is also kind of co-working spaces and creative use of spaces. And perhaps partnership with Downtown Streets team or similar groups with some of our commercial centers that have been problematic in the past. World's Fair, where World's Fair Donuts and Burger King is on the Hesperian, Walgreens in this community, our Lucky Center downtown are kind of ideas that bubble up in that area. Parking, I know we have a lot of theft, car theft and car break-ins, and certainly what are things we can do to work with the community to get cars back into garages where garages exist. I realize that some of our communities were built with very small garages, and so what else can we do to help with that? And then a reminder that there was some talk about fair housing issues and housing rehab. And just a reminder to us all that we said that the next RFP for our community grant process would include an RFP for fair housing services, for housing rehab services, and even information from applicants about what they might do if excess funds were available. I just wanted to put that reminder, so we do that early. And lastly, on the community visioning, that's going in the right direction. One suggestion on the circle, on the 5 circles area, there you are, that the circle number 5, I believe it is, the Mount Eden, the Tennyson and Hesperian intersection, might need to be a little bit bigger. One of the things I've been hearing is about concerns from pedestrian crossing from Mount Eden, cross traffic entering kind of in the Mount Eden Tahoe neighborhood. New street. I know there was evaluation of a new street light, but just some. So I know that's not exactly Tennyson, but it's very close to that neighborhood, and so there may be some room there to talk about it. And lastly, just a reminder for the Tennyson corridor that the South Hayward Neighborhood Collaborative has been around for over 20 years and happy to help in whatever way makes sense. And with that, I will thank everybody.
Okay, thank you. So now we're going to open public questions and comments about the presentation, and we have some cards. First is from Eric Heltzel. I hope I said that right.
Good evening, everybody. I only have 3 minutes, so I don't have time for an opening joke, but I'll just introduce myself. English. I just want to say we are really grateful for this partnership with the city. We also want to say huge thanks to the incredible and talented Mary Thomas, who has guided us in our work and has been so supportive and given us a lot of confidence to do the work that we've been doing. When we had our orientation with city staff in Davenport, we were surprised by how many titles the city staff has on their nameplate. The city staff does a lot of work, and they're involved in a lot of projects, and we're grateful to be able to support them in the work that they do. I also want to talk about how this initiative has impacted our teaching and our students. We often talk about the irony of community colleges is that they don't have any contact with the community, that they're isolated in a building and they're not out in the community. The work that we've been doing has given purpose to our work and also to the students. And the students, when they first started, and when we tell them that they're going to be working with Hayward, they're very nervous and anxious at first, but when they interact with the community members who have been so passionate, so insightful, and so lovely and supportive in working with us, the students are elated, and they become increasingly confident in themselves and their own capacity and their own talents that often go unleveraged in traditional classrooms. So what we would like to continue doing is continue to foster this relationship between the city, the college, and the community. And I'd like to invite everyone here to a symposium that we're hosting on December 7th at Chabot College called Hacking the Suburbs, where we explore the relationship between the city, the community, and the college, and where we will have students report on all of the success that they've had with the community members. So thank you so much.
Sean McFarland.
Thanks for having us and myself. Mary and Eric said it all well. I just wanted to add one little piece, actually two quick pieces. So we don't know if this is going to work. We think this is working. We think that it's sustainable that a college can do this work, that a college, because we can curricularize so much of this work, we think that we can put a lot of boots on the ground to support communities. That's the point of this symposium. We want to share this out. We'd love to franchise this at places like Berkeley, Fresno. We have a lot of faculty that are interested in this. We'd love to get city folks in play. And we think, I'm saying this respectfully and with not knowing the work you do, we think that one of the things Hayward could think about is finding a way to kind of codify the kind of work that people like Mary have done. We know it's part of her nameplate. We also know it's part of perhaps her type A personality. And we'd like to see if there's a way for a city to build in the opportunity for the city to leave the city hall like they're doing tonight and come out to the community. Maybe Chabot supplies 5 interns per person doing this position. We'd love to see this so that it's not this kind of grinding that we see, not just Mary, but many of these staff members do. The second thing I want to say quite quickly is we were humbled by this astonishing graciousness of the community members that we have met. Our students were paranoid to go to these festivals, to share their art, to intersect with the community. When the community shows up, they're smart, they're uncynical, they're on point, they want to get involved, they're craving this type of interaction. And so what we want to try to do in part of our vision is to continue to create, and I think the city's doing this as well, create platforms for 2 things for the community to do. Literally just interact with each other, like we know that many folks here already help happen. And secondly, to create a kind of ability to create agency in the community. We've met, grandmothers we think should be mayors of Hayward, all due respect to the folks who want to be mayor. And these folks have the skill set, have the interest, but don't have the platform. And the fact that you come here today to offer that platform to this community, I think they're super appreciative of that. So thank you for your time.
Good evening, council members. My name is Susie Hofstadter. I'm a community organizer with Bike East Bay. I just want to start by thanking staff for this tremendous outreach process. The storyboard on the website is impressive and beautiful, and I think every city should be doing this, so great job to everyone involved. I also want to praise Downtown Streets team. I was just at their meeting earlier today. It's growing, it's just great, and I'm happy that they're here. I also want to point out that this workshop Fred mentioned is actually next Friday on the 21st. So I hope to see people there. It's an opportunity to take a walk here in Hayward on Tennyson Road and around Weeks Park and really talk in a fine-grained way about what kind of changes we want to see on the streets. So it's at 9 a.m. because that's the feedback we got from our contact at the high school, that parents would be able to come after drop-off. So I hope that if some folks don't work, that you might be able to join us. And there will be breakfast. One thing that I do want to bring in a little bit more of an advocacy role is to say that, when staff brings you these really diligent presentations that have many design alternatives for streets, we're talking about complete streets, and this is really, the goal of this is to shift what we're using these streets for and to really think about how we can make them usable and safe for people. And that's also including people driving. If we look, there have been 4 deaths on Tennyson Road in the past since 2012, and many, many more throughout Hayward, and many, many more throughout our region on these incredibly wide streets with fast traffic. So there is an element of trade-off, yes. We want everybody to be able to park and drive and get where they need to go, and we want to sort of make spot improvements where we can. But when you have an opportunity to really shift the way a street is operating, please do that, because people are dying. This is really a crisis. This is like a public health crisis when we have people dying on the streets, not just biking, not just walking, but also in their cars. So please try to think about that in the future. I'm not going to go into this whole thing with the Mission Phase 3, but I really appreciate staff's patience on that, and I believe that the design that was selected will leave money on the table. There are grants that are specifically designed to increase safety and mode shift, and I think Hayward needs to be bold and ambitious with these designs, and when the opportunity comes for Tennyson Road, I hope you'll do that. That means protected bikeways, fewer lanes, narrower lanes, and really a street that saves people's lives. So thank you for your time and your effort to staff.
Peggy Guernsey.
First of all, I'd like to absolutely say thank you to the Chabot students and staff that are here tonight. You can do anything you put your minds to. You can work in this community. You've been the diamond in Northern California for community colleges for years, and I appreciate you being here because together we can all do it. Now, I'm sorry, staff, you've done a wonderful job, but the pictures that you presented tonight and in this initiative are lying to us tonight and in this pamphlet. You do not identify where these pictures come from as examples, nor do you say, this is what we hope will happen on Tennyson. On page 11, do you really expect that Mission Boulevard or Tennyson is going to look like this cute little street-lined street? Give me a break, it'll never happen. Our street is too narrow, you can't do it. The existing businesses, it can't look like that. It's a dream, but I don't believe this dream can be done. You show us the San Francisco Bay Trails. What's wrong with our current shoreline? Does it look so ugly you can't present it and say you want to fix it? Or you show us on page 16, the top, it's Hayward Boulevard. That's going up to Stonebray. All the rich people live up there. The schools have been told, we're nothing but the flats. We don't matter. That doesn't belong in here unless you say so, it's not us. And then your intersection is uptown. What about Tennyson Hesperian, Tennyson 880, Tennyson on Patrick, or Tennyson on Mission Boulevard? Those are intersections here that mean something to us right here. Staff, what did you learn tonight? Never did you once say to connect with the community. How many times tonight you've listened to people talk and beg you for things and beg our council, so staff didn't learn about how to talk to us? Tonight may be a first step, but it better not be the last step. I'm ashamed, as much as I love staff and I've worked with them over the years, and you guys do a job that is not rewarded enough. I am ashamed that this report to me lies to me and tells me I don't know how yucky and how inappropriate these pictures don't show the reality of what we want in the Tennyson area, what we need in South Hayward. I said I've been here 47 years, and I've been complaining. South Hayward doesn't have a grocery store. South Hayward doesn't have, transportation now. I know we're getting like a seafood city down in Southland, but what's South Hayward getting? I see my time, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor and Council, and welcome to South Hayward. I would like to move as quickly as I can through this, and will provide a written update if you'd like to have one afterwards, because there's a number of items on here, and so tonight I'm representing an organization, not just myself. I want to just say, first of all, that the South Hayward Initiative, I want to encourage those from Chabot and other areas to include nonprofits up front. Engage with us early on. Don't wait until we've come through all of this and then say we're going to call you. A little late. And I'm not knocking you, I'm just saying we're here to help, and many of us have been here 40, 50 years. I think we're stakeholders as well, but that's just my thought on it. So I would like to make sure that South Hayward Collaborative has been around a long time. Talk to us. We'd like to be a part of what this vision looks like and helping to do it, and we live in the area. I want to make several things that I've read in your report. I want to respond to them just one behind the other. Number one, I saw in the report that you're looking at perhaps a farmer's market in our area. I'd like to suggest to you that Glad Tidings would like to help in this area. And we have property on Tennyson Road. There's a large parking lot on one. We have another parking lot here. We'd like to be a part of that. And if we can help you, we would be more than happy to participate in that area. I know Palmacia Church is right down the street. I know they would participate, and others. Talk to us. We'd like to be a part of that. You don't have to start from square one. We'd like to be a part of the expanded lighting for neighborhoods, and I've heard so much talking tonight, which was good, about bike lanes, etc. But we know that we have the worst health outcomes of anybody around is in South Hayward. Part of that is because we don't exercise. Part of it, that reason is because people don't want to walk on the streets, they don't feel safe. Why not establish some walking lanes, not just bike lanes, to where they're well lit and they tell you you've walked a half a mile, 2 miles by going this route, and then light those paths up so people feel more like walking in that area because everybody doesn't have a bike. All right? Number three, you mentioned in your report about the possibility of community policing with bikes and having a policeman ride on bikes. We welcome that. And we'd like to see what happens now to community policing and whether we can go back to that model in a greater way. But I certainly would support police on bikes in our neighborhood. I'd like to say furthermore about the landscape plans for Tennyson. Don't leave out some of the major streets like Tyrell, like Huntwood, etc., because those are thoroughfares. Those are areas that lead up to Tennyson, and keeping those clean and together would help us. Having said that, let me say to you that we're looking for a partnership right now in terms of our working with a landscape company that we can form in South Hayward that can service all of us so that we don't have to bring in people from San Ramon to come. I'm going as quickly as I can. Community emergency response teams, we'd like to also include the Red Cross to be a part of that and have a master plan so we know what to do if there's an emergency and we can all be prepared for that. Let me say, if you give me just another minute or two, let me say that there's a problem with the buses and we can't get from one area to the other. I don't know what the restrictions are. Is it possible that a nonprofit could provide a shuttle bus, all right, to go from Mission Boulevard to Chabot College and back? I don't know what rules are against that, but perhaps we can look at that, and we'd like to be involved in maybe at least providing transportation until we can find some buses to help get people back and forth to school. So I just wanted to share those. I've got 2 or 3 other things. I close by saying, as it relates to the housing situation, Glad Tidings sold a property or went to partnership with Eden Housing for a property $2 million below market to ensure that we added 62 units of affordable housing permanently for Hayward. And we've already done that. The partnership is going. Now Eden is going to need your help as we try to get those properties developed and redone accordingly. We're partnering with them. We need your help. Please respond to us. If you'd like to talk to us, you'll find, I know Palmacia is represented tonight, other churches are represented tonight. We're here to help. Talk to us. We'd like to be a part of what our community looks like. It's us. Thank you.
Did stop at 3 minutes, but I will say that Bishop Macklin has done an enormous amount of work in this community, and I decided to give him a couple extra minutes, so I hope the rest of you will forgive me for that. And finally, Angela Andrews is the last card I have, so if there is anyone else that would like to speak after this.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. I also have here Sharon Eva from Keep Hayward Clean and Green, and we just want to thank the staff for coming out to our neighborhood. We really appreciate it. I think you can see it's a great turnout tonight. Also, we wanted to remind you that Keep Hayward Clean and Green is also here, and they are actually helping out with Tennyson Corridor. And we want to thank Rodney, Alfonso, Richard Neal, Kimberly Deland for helping Keep Hayward Clean and Green, and our liaison, Councilmember Mendel. We do have an event next Saturday where we will actually be doing a beautification project on Tennyson. So I encourage everyone to come out for that event. Sharon, you have anything else to say? Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you, and thank you to all of the Keep Hayward Clean and Green members and all of the volunteers who come out monthly, I think, to help you in all the different neighborhoods. Please come out where did you say where exactly? Yes, come tell us where and what time.
Lighted Court in Tennyson, 8:30 to 12.
Yes, okay. Good location for doing some cleaning up, I think. So with that, I don't have any other cards, so we're going to close public comment part of this and go to council comments and referrals, and I will start with Councilmember Mendel.
Thank you, Mayor. There we go. Thank you, Mayor. I want to start, I don't have as much history here as Bishop Macklin does. I've lived in South Hayward for 19 years. And for the first 15, it was a struggle to get the city councils and the city to pay attention. And I get the sense from talking to Bishop Macklin and others that has been true for a very long time. When I joined the council in 2012, tried to push for it, and Francisco, you were always there, but we didn't have the 4 votes we needed until Mayor Halliday was elected in 2014, and Elisa and Sarah joined the council And then we had a strong supermajority of the council that wanted to invest more in South Hayward, wanted to invest more of the city's time, attention, effort, and money in South Hayward. And the entire council has been supportive of this initiative, and I do appreciate all 6 of my colleagues for that. There hasn't been controversy about this. We are finally, the council, in my opinion, finally paying more attention to South Hayward and the Tennessee corridor in a way that past councils have not. So I hope that those of you who live down here like I do, when you get a chance to at least acknowledge that we're trying now and appreciate that we're here in a way that we haven't in the past, I encourage you to do that for my colleagues especially. We didn't even mention, there are 2 new grocery stores coming to South Hayward. All of those photos of the shoreline in the staff packet are of the Hayward shoreline. The name of the trail is the San Francisco Bay Trail because it rings the San Francisco Bay. Those photos, I know exactly where they were taken. They are in Hayward. Didn't get to mention that there's a La Vista Park coming in at the end of Tennyson. 50-acre brand new park that is, if we can keep to the schedule, opening around this time late next year. 50-acre park. That'll be 2 to 3 times the size of the second largest park in Hayward Kennedy Park when it opens. That's a big deal and something that this council and the current hard board has been supportive of because the community has been asking for it for a long time. More recreational opportunities in South Hayward. On the question that you were asking us tonight, I'm excited about everything on the list. I had a hard time finding things to disagree with. It's like, yes, please do it all, which I know is sort of a not very helpful answer. But what I would say is that I do worry that it is a lot to take on, and that was mentioned as sort of the wrap up there. And I look to the city manager to sort of prioritize these tasks and pace them out appropriately. I certainly don't expect that every single one of those is going to be done, this time next year. That's unrealistic and would be quite problematic for staff. So I assume that that's something that, I know that's something you're already working on, but something that's probably going to come back to us maybe in January when you have the retreat in terms of ongoing resources. Yes, okay. And then the other thing I'd mention is that there may be an opportunity if Measure T passes to consider whether there's a couple of additional staff hires that could be part of that additional funding that might work on some of these strategic initiative priorities to help move them along without burning people out. So I would encourage us as a council and the city manager to at least consider that if Measure T passes. I agree with everything that Bishop Macklin said, every single word. You have been here a long time. I'm glad the mayor gave you a little extra time. You deserve that and more. So there's some follow-up conversations that need to take place there. And to the extent that we haven't done that yet, I apologize for that. I'm sure all of us are feeling like that was an oversight that we're kicking ourselves over. So I save my colleagues from having to repeat that. I'm sure we all feel the same way. That's it. So I'll stop and let somebody else comment. Thank you, Mayor. Okay. Oh, and good work, really, good work. I said that in past updates, but I really have been impressed with some of the creativity and the programs from staff. It's been exciting to watch, so keep going.
All right, and we'll move down the line this way. Okay, Councilmember Zermania, you go next, and then we'll have Councilmember Marquez.
Thanks for staff, and there it is. Okay, thanks for staff and the very good report. Thanks to Chabot College, my colleagues out there, students. Bishop Macklin, thank you for your comment. And the one thing that I want to mention to our staff here is Bishop Macklin mentioned that we need to speak with our nonprofits. So of course, Glad Tidings Church, but let us not forget South Hayward Parish. I think that's something that's very, very important. They've been there ages, I'm not sure how long, but certainly, and Ralph Morales does a very good job there. Just a note over on the staff report, page 7, it talks about the 5 proposed opportunity areas. It talks of the Tennessee Corridor Vision Plan. I'm really going to emphasize the Tennessee Corridor because I think that's the reason we're here. it speaks of number 1 being dynamic, number 2 being unique, then number 3 is green, diverse, and diverse. Are they set up in priorities? Are they prioritized, or are they just nilly-willy? What I like to propose is that number 5 be number 1. In my mind, diverse housing options is more important than dynamic public spaces. So are they just, is that?
They were not prioritized, and this was also, we're seeking feedback now, so assuming other people are fine with that, we can definitely move on.
My recommendation would be, number 5 should be 1, diverse housing would be the most important thing, that we heard it today. Number 2 would be diverse transportation options, because in my mind, it's ridiculous for AC Transit to have no pressure from us. I mean, there are a couple of choice words that I could use, but I will not do that. The bishop mentioned possibly even a shuttle from BART to Chabot. So why don't we speak with Cal State Hayward, East Bay, to expand their particular shuttles so that they go Cal State, downtown Southland, Chabot, and then make this loop. I mean, in my mind, that's really something. So this way, we the nonprofits don't have to spend any money. I mean, there's some money up there. Number 3 should be green and resilient, just because I'm green inside but brown on the outside. Number 4 should be dynamic public spaces. Number 5 would be unique neighborhood identity. So that's my comment on that. Over on complete communities, page 9 of the report on these slides. That is tremendous use with the NOFA. We really need to be more forceful on creating the affordability that we can have. And Bishop, thank you very much on that one particular project, because we do need, and we heard it loudly today, we need to move not only in market, we're going to have market housing, no problem, but we really need the other housing too, along with the protection that we have. A couple of notes. South of Jackson Road, all the way to Union City, seems to be the area that is most littered in our city, south. And can we, even if T does not pass, vote for Measure T, please. It's my political message. Even if T were not to pass, I really would like us to think about employing 1 or 2 other folks who would specifically police that area and really clean it up. We're talking Tyrell, we're talking Tennyson. I am out there every Saturday cleaning up Tennyson and Hesperian, because that is an area that really Aldengate continuously. All right, so some kind of another person there. Facade improvements, glory, hallelujah. Please, thank you. Now, I hope that includes enclosing garbage dumpsters on the corner of Huntwood and Tennyson. They are the ugliest corners in the world, and I've been to a couple areas in the world. So please do something about that. Mr. Niels over there with the trees. I will give you a list of other areas that are deep trees. That's tremendous. Let's see. The shuttle program, NERD, excellent. Let's see. Muralized. So from Tennyson Road goes from Industrial Boulevard to Mission, and we have this huge blank concrete wall that's 6 feet tall. I want it all muralized. So let's look for some money. I think we have some money. So let's pass Measure T, please, so we can have extra funds. Let's see. I don't have a Cesar Chavez mural yet. I've been looking for a Cesar Chavez mural in Tennyson Road for, let's see, I moved here with my wife in 1978. 1979, I started asking for a Cesar Chavez mural, so maybe it's time to do it. Bishop Macklin spoke of walking safety. So perhaps it's time for us to look into a park course that would start on Industrial Boulevard and pick certain areas all the way to Mission. There are certain areas that I've identified, little corners that there's nothing there. And let's put a little exercise or something. And one of those is part of your property, Bishop, so I hope that you'll agree with that. If we want to emphasize Tennyson Road, where the economy is great, where we only have one empty storefront that's in comparison to the downtown Hayward, that means that we're vibrant. So I'd like to see a kiosk of what we offer. One at Tennyson and Hesperian, and one Tennyson and Mission. This is what the Tennyson community offers you. Kiosks with all these litters, go to the service to Bishop Macklin on Sundays. Go plant community gardens in South Hayward Parish. Go say hello to Ralph Morales, etc. Okay, let's see. So that's it. Okay. You spoke of affordable housing. That's fine. Okay, and those are my comments. I commend you for what you've done. I thank Marisa. I like the passion, muchacha. That's very, very good. Thank you very much. The work of the task force is excellent. Eric, and Bishop, and everybody else, thank you for being here, and let's do this. Yesterday. Gracias.
Thank you. Okay, Councilmember Marquez, yes.
Thank you. I'm just gonna put this out. Good evening, everyone. It's really great to see all of you and to be home in South Hayward. So first, I just want to acknowledge I felt the tension, there's concerns, and they're valid because it has taken a really, really long time to get to this point, but it's important to keep the historical context in place and hope that we can actually come together, like my colleague said, and acknowledge that we are here. We do hear you, but we can't do this alone. So if you know South Hayward, you know South Hayward is made up of many, many unsung heroes. Some are here in the room tonight. Bishop Macklin, Angela Andrews, Karen Norrell, Diane Fagaldi, and Greg Galati. If you ever drive Huntwood on a Wednesday morning, every Wednesday morning, probably for the last 10 years, you will see Greg Galati, my neighbor, picking up debris. So I say that to say that the city cannot do it alone, and we're being honest. We have a structural deficit. This is an ambitious plan. It's not realistic. We're not going to be able to accomplish all of these goals. We really need to streamline and focus which are the most important. We tackle the first 3, 4. Once those are accomplished, we move on to the next. So I say that to say that we need to work together and we need to be strategic and smart because we only have so much people power here. Also, it's really important to come to South Hayward and have this meeting. This is the most well-attended council meeting I've seen, and I've been on the council for over 4 years. So when we talk about the reconstruction of South, and I'm sorry because we keep on changing the name of this facility, but South Hayward Family Community Center, I think is what we landed on. I had mentioned during those workshop meetings with HARD and La Familia and the other nonprofit partners is that we need to build space so that we have the wiring to do council meetings from that location. My vision for South Hayward is that we bring a council meeting. Maybe it's quarterly, maybe it's the 4th Wednesday of Tuesday, whatever that looks like. But I think it's really, really important that we offer a meeting outside of City Hall. Look at the turnout tonight, and we can only grow that if we continue to do that. So please spread the word, watch this online once it's up, it's really important. I want to thank staff. You guys have been very creative and ambitious and smart and thoughtful. And I do feel that there is a bit of a disconnect in terms of, there's some key stakeholders in South Hayward that we definitely want to engage in conversation. If they haven't already been included, we want to bring them into the conversation. In terms of the feedback where you asked for the next steps, I agree with my colleague, Councilmember Cermeño, with saying that housing should be number 5. And I know my colleagues, I'm sorry, number 5 should move to number 1. Thank you for correcting me. I'm just going to put it out there. My colleagues are tired of me bringing this up, but when we had our retreat in November of 16, I was under the impression we walked away with that retreat with affordable housing, creating and preserving it being a standalone goal, not because I have a crystal ball, but because I worked 9 years in Oakland and 6 years in downtown San Jose, and I could see what was happening to those communities, and I knew it was only going to be a matter of time that it was going to come to Hayward in terms of people being priced out. So thank you to the public for coming out and reminding us. So I hope when we meet in January, we can revisit the priorities and look at next steps in terms of people that have lived here their entire life. If they choose to stay here, should have that option to do so. But again, thank you for the work. There's nothing that I'm disappointed with. It's just we need to be really realistic. So when we come back together in January, hopefully we're prepared to focus on what are the 3, 4 goals we want to tackle. And all of you that were here tonight, email us, let us know which you feel are the priority, or come back to a council meeting and let us know. Even though we meet in downtown Hayward, you're always welcome. 7 p.m. almost every Tuesday night. Come to public comments, email us. You can schedule meetings with any one of us. We're all very accessible. So thank you for sharing your concerns, and thank you to staff.
Okay, thank you. And now we'll move to Councilmember Pichot.
Thank you. Thank you. And as has been mentioned, this is a very thorough and a complete report, and I want to thank staff. I like the way you divided it up into different sections and had your individual experts testify before us. So one of the things that was brought up during the public comment period, and it's not even an elephant in the room anymore, is this whole affordable housing issue. And it's particularly perplexing in this area of South Hayward. And I'll tell you, this is the most frustrating issue I have ever had to deal with as a council member, including, believe it or not, labor negotiations. Because number one, it is precipitated by unprecedented growth in the Silicon Valley, which we had nothing to do with. And you would think that we'd be happy that there's that growth. Supply-siders would be happy with it because they talk about trickle-down. There was no trickle-down in that growth. Not to Hayward, maybe to Cupertino and the restaurants around Cupertino, but there was no trickle-down to us. The second thing that frustrates me with this whole affordable housing issue is it's not a standalone Hayward issue. It is a regional issue. So unless everybody else around us does the same thing in the same proportion, we're not going to adequately address this whole affordable housing issue. And I say that because I want the people to understand the magnitude of this issue. And I don't think it's a good idea to go through these, quick fixes or addressing it at one economic level, because there are going to be so many unintended consequences. Now, I have a question for the housing manager, and it's in regard to this. We've had a number of affordable housing projects come before us. One that comes to mind is Maple in Maine. So 240 apartments, 48 of which are affordable. That's about 20%. Recognizing that there is a cutoff point, a break point at which developers will no longer come to us and develop housing. What do you think that affordable component should be in your average apartment development? Is it going to be 20%, 30%?
I think the challenge with that question is a lot of the financing that subsidizes affordable housing is targeting very low income. And the developers that are utilizing those funds normally will do 100% affordable projects. So when we break out a project into say, okay, I think it can provide 10% affordable housing, they no longer have the funding streams that subsidize those lower income units. So it's hard to figure out what that percentage would be and what the threshold is to encourage on-site affordable housing developments or a mixed income property.
Let me move on to some other issues here. Thank you, Ms. Morales. We talked about form-based codes, and I remember a couple projects. Am I talking into this thing much?
Can you all hear him?
Okay. We, in dealing with the phase 2 form-based codes, I remember there were some problems when we have projects come before us with compliance on the form-based codes. And one of them was the Haymont project. And we had all kinds of exceptions. This consultant, Lisa Wise, is she aware of the problems we've had making our developers comply with these form-based codes?
Yes, she is. The kickoff meeting that we had with the consultant was a very long meeting. I probably spoke for easily the first 30 minutes of that kickoff meeting about all of the challenges that we've experienced with the current form-based codes, trying to make sure that I could include as many of the issues that have come to light as projects have tried to come forward. You know, things that maybe just don't make sense. Maybe at one point in time there was a vision and it seemed to make sense, but in reality or in practical speaking, it just doesn't. And so they are aware of those issues. We are working with them just to make sure, for the most part, that we're dealing with a regulation that's understandable and enforceable, and that makes sense and is aligned with the community's vision for those corridors. And so it is definitely something that they're aware of, and we'll continue to remind them of those things so that hopefully we end up with a code that makes sense.
Yeah, because I remember the previous city manager saying that it sounded good at the time, but there were other considerations that showed up down the road and caused a bottleneck in it. We talked about vacant property ordinance, and actually a vacant building ordinance, and I'm wondering if we're including in that vacant property. Now, what comes to mind is a property next to Buffalo Bills in the downtown that's forever been a vacant parcel. Is this ordinance going to include vacant properties as well as vacant buildings?
What I can say is that we already have regulations on the books related to fencing of vacant properties. So there were some ordinances that were passed by council some years ago in dealing with what those vacant properties looked like, and if folks were choosing to provide fencing on those properties in some of our most visible corridors, that there's a very clear set of design guidelines associated with what those fences are to look like. Screened, they may be fancy fencing, just really because the biggest concern was the look of vacant properties, and a lot of the owners of vacant properties wanted to fence them because of concerns over illegal dumping and other issues. So they wanted to fence them. We don't require that those properties be fenced, but should a property owner decide in some corridors, we definitely cared about the look of those fences, and that those design guidelines were presented to council some time ago. With regards to the vacant building ordinance and what will be coming before you, I'm not sure, but I will take that feedback back as we're continuing to develop that, and when we bring it back, then we can address those concerns.
Okay. Is there anything we can do with that property on B Street? I mean, it's been vacant for so long. Is it a legal issue or what?
I think it may be a matter of financing or development concerns. I've had numerous meetings with people representing that property owner who is interested in doing something. I think it could be a matter of a number of things, so I couldn't really speak to specifically, but we have had and entertained some calls and meetings with potential development for that site.
Well, we've been through a number of economic cycles. I know that property's been vacant for a long time. So let me get Fred here on the hot seat here, because I'll tell you, you know it's campaign time, don't you, Fred?
I do, sir.
And I've been around town. And do you know that the one issue, as I go door to door, what do you think that is?
Traffic.
Traffic, and more specifically, the loop. That just will not go away. And it's not just because I harped on this issue. I'm telling you, I was just up in the Highlands. I was in College Heights. I've been in my neighborhood, and that issue, I would say conservatively, comes up at least 30 to 40% of the time. Now, I understand, and I talked to 2 city managers now about this, and the latest city manager said that we're going to probably address our concerns in the downtown specific plan. And that's where we're discussing making B Street 2 ways again, and maybe Main Street, bringing the sidewalks out to accommodate al fresco dining for our Leaf Arena, and that's going to slow down traffic and all that. But let me tell you the number one thing that will not go away, the number one complaint. And I told you this before, I got a letter from the guy that owns Wakamatsu restaurant, and you know that area. And he sent me a letter in Japanese, And then he had his son translate it. And he says, we refer to this, that area right in front of the old fishery, as kamikaze intersection. Because you have traffic crossing from west to east to get over to A Street very quickly and get to the valley, Castro Valley. You have traffic coming down from All Saints that wants to queue it over to get to Buffalo Bills. And you've got a lot of bad language going on there and bad signs from people. That needs to be addressed. There's no question. I've heard the argument that people need to get used to it. They're not used to it. They're not learning. It's a problem.
I would agree, and I'll second what City Manager McAdoo has said, is that the downtown specific plan is a, pardon the pun, but a vehicle to address some of these problems. And there's going to be a 40-year vision, and whether or not we ultimately achieve that, I don't know. But I think more importantly,
40-year vision?
Well, that's the other, and I won't be here either. But I think more importantly is what we can do now, what we can do in the short term, in the 1 to 3 year period, what we can do in the 5 to 10 year period, what we can do from an infrastructure standpoint to improve upon circulation, operations, and safety. That's going to be the important takeaway from the downtown specific plan. The most important thing that the plan can leave us is how we can improve things now. And so we're working very diligently with the consultant team to address that in a way that provides some usable and doable information and projects. So I would agree with you 100%.
Thank you. That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. You're going to be around a while.
40 years.
Pessimistic. Councilmember Salinas.
Well, at least you don't have to speak English to know that the loop was a disaster. Well, first of all, I wanted to thank the community for coming out tonight. It's always nice to be in South Hayward, primarily because I was born just about a mile up the street at St. Rose, so it's always nice to be here. And these were the streets we used to ride our bikes up and down. These were we used to play in the center next door. We used to play in the park before there was the skateboard park. There was the big robot that everybody would fall off of and bump their heads and stuff. But that's when playgrounds were completely unsafe. But still, we took our licks and we kept going. But there's been a lot of talk about history this evening, and yes, I think there is a lot of history along this corridor. There's been a lot of organizations doing a lot of great work, responding to issues around alcoholism and drug addiction and community beautification and just issues around making neighborhoods more healthy. I think those have been some neighbors have always banded together and to work on these issues. And so a lot of the work we're doing here, yes, we're sort of recalibrating some of the attention that we do on the council here, but to say that this is a new idea, that this is a new focus, I think it's diminishing and it's not taking into the account all of the wonderful and great work that has been done over the years. Glad Tidings, the South Hayward Collaborative. I would be remiss if I excluded St. Bede's Church and all of the strong organizations. My colleagues from Chabot College, they talked about curricularizing student involvement in South Hayward. And the Kids Breakfast Club, for example, was founded in the classroom at Chabot College, and Dr. Marlena Urich brought students from Chabot College into Palmacia and Tyrell and Shepherd and tried to fight student hunger and student nutrition. And so there's been a lot of work, and the Kids Breakfast Club is still around. So there's a lot of work that has been done here historically. So wanted to acknowledge that. But what I also wanted to acknowledge is staff. I think the work staff has been doing in this area has been incredible. They clearly, the traffic, the backup of traffic on Tennyson Road by all the maintenance crews, although you can see people grabbing the steering wheel during the day, but at the end of the day, it's always better, and I think the neighbors appreciate it, and we certainly get the feedback, and we certainly get emails, and so please tell your crew thank you for us, and I know that the neighborhood absolutely appreciates all your work. So I just wanted to make just a few comments. Progress is coming along. I was real pleased to see the report. There's a lot of things we're working on simultaneously in a lot of different areas. Health and pedestrian and traffic and landscape and housing, and I mean these are big things that we're working on, and I think staff has certainly come together, and staff is moving a lot of these issues right along in measurable fashion. I did have a couple of questions. I noticed on the focus nodes, I forget who brought this up, but I wanted to, I noticed that the far west node, the circle ended somewhere around Hesperian, and I just wanted to point out that, Tennyson ends at industrial, and I'm hoping that we don't leave out that last, Hesperian to industrial track or strip of street. I just wanted to make sure that we're not leaving them out.
Yes, and let me explain this. I didn't do it justice the first time. Is that these are not intended to be the only areas that we focus on. The idea is that when we do some of the design charrettes, we really think about how the interaction is around these intersections, and then the communities obviously around these and outside of these circles will be included as well. They just won't be as focused. There's less public land.
Okay, that was a powerful sneeze. That was a powerful sneeze. Okay, so good. I just wanted to make sure that that we include them, and that was good. I also wanted to comment regarding the health aspect of the work that's being done, and I wanted to look at it on a couple of levels. One, on a sort of on the street level, making sure that when we plan for future economic development, that we really focus on bringing healthier stores, stores that are responsive to what neighbors want, to what neighbors need, food, grocery stores, and so forth. So I know our economic development team is thinking about that, and I know this is something that I've been talking about for a very, very long time. And now on a policy level, what I'd like to see is just like what I did back in 2011 when we did the form-based codes along the Mission Boulevard corridor, when we struck out all future uses for tobacco stores, liquor stores, and predatory check cashing stores. I'd like to see us when we go back to the form-based codes, I'd like for us to look at the future land use permissions, and I want to strike out future uses of tobacco stores, liquor stores, and all of these other stores that we simply have too much of, that have been building up over the last 20 years, 10 years, 14 years, right? And so that is something that we've been looking at as we move along and develop as we move forward. And sort of boldly thinking is, I don't think it's too much to expect from this corridor that we make it a health zone, where we completely flip it upside down. Over the years, it has been overrun by liquor stores and all these other, fast food. But now, as we move forward, that we really take this opportunity to really focus on health and food and nutrition, and where the land use looks towards that future, or looks towards that direction. So that's the health zone focus. I called it a health zone focus, but that's right. And then I just wanted a quick shout out to Bishop Macklin that on the short term, I think that shuttle idea is great. I think one of the ideas I thought about was, and I don't know if this is permissible or if it can even happen, but I know we have the South Hayward BART JPA that exists right now. Can we take some of that funding and apply it to a shuttle, for between BART and Chabot College?
Is that working? Okay, there we go. Unfortunately, in the discussions with BART, one of the challenges has been funding the security and the maintenance of the parking spaces and the parking lots. So there's really not a lot of funding left over. I think as the station gets more populated, potentially there's more parking, more revenue generated. It might be something to look at, but right now, as I understand it, there's just not a lot of extra revenue in that budget, unfortunately. And mostly we've tried to argue with BART about what should be covered by those funds, but hopefully we'll be able to get some future investments in some of those items in South Hayward.
And similarly to what we're doing in downtown with the business zone, or like sort of the business district, couldn't we do a business district in, the Tennyson corridor?
Absolutely. That was the enabling legislation that the council put in place, allows for community benefit districts throughout the community.
Okay, perfect. So just wanted to touch on that and make sure, because that what you just said seems like it's long term, but maybe we should be thinking about something in short term, because I know the students at Chabot College are desperately advocating for bus service. Then regarding housing, the plan staff has, I think, is good. I think we're going down the right track, and I know this is I wanted to thank, of course, our new housing manager. Well, I guess the honeymoon is over now. I guess you're in, and so I know you jumped into this, and I think the work you're doing is good, and it's coming along. So I wanted to thank you for that. But to go back to Ms. Guernsey's comment, a conversation that I've been talking about for a very long time up here is about density. About density. We're going to have to seriously talk about density. We're going to have to confront density. And back in 2010, I remember when I was out campaigning, and I was standing in a room one day, and there was a group of good neighbors in front of me, and I was talking about, I said, well, we need to start talking about increasing density. And and I got hissed at. There's a lot of and people weren't happy with that comment I made. But here we are today in a situation where we simply need more housing. And it's something that we're going to have to talk about. How high do we go? And it's a conversation that we have to confront now. I mean, if we don't want to go higher than 3 stories, then we need to make that decision, and we don't go higher than 3 stories. Or if we go 5 stories, 10 stories, then we need to have that discussion. Because the impacts are going to be parking. I mean, that's, everybody, so anyways, so that's, we're really going to have to squarely talk about density, right? Earlier we were talking about how the California State Legislature usurps local authority, local decision-making authority. And oftentimes when the state legislature does something, we get stuck having to implement it, and then council gets clobbered. For example, the ADU law that was passed just recently, it's sponsored by Senator Bob Wojciechowski, where, we need housing, so there's gonna be a trend now in building small granny units in backyards, right? And this with very little ability for the city to stop these kinds of developments. And so today, look at how many cars are parked in front of your street. You can go down, Miami, you can go down Decatur, you can go down, name the streets. Tyrell, Shepherd, Manning, we can name the streets, and there's already a lot of cars out there. And so that law basically usurps our ability to regulate them to the fullest maximum way. But that's what's happening. And so, I put that out there because it's a conversation that we need to have. It hasn't been talked about for as long as I've been up here. And so it's something that we're gonna have to talk about. And so, with that said, I'll stop my comments. I have some other things here, but I'll certainly talk to staff about them later. But I just wanted to say, thank you for coming out. I know it's almost 10 o'clock, and have a great evening. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Now we can all know. I do have a couple of comments. But first, I do want to thank people for coming out. I want to thank the staff for tremendous work. Really very long and comprehensive report that it is hard to get to all of this tonight, but I think all of us can continue the conversation with you, and I hope that you all will continue the conversation with us. I especially want to acknowledge the stalwarts among you who are still here. It seems like the wheels of bureaucracy roll slowly, but if you don't do good preparation and good planning, you're not going to get a good product. And so, yes, we are working our way through this, but we will get there. We do achieve things. And so I think that it is important to get out to this community. I do want to thank Chabot and the student participation. It's a great partnership, and after all, that's really who we're planning for, is their generation, and for them to bring up their families. And so it's so fitting that they're a part of this, and I hope that we can continue to build on that, and that they won't feel that we're not approachable, or that we're not just like them, part of this community working together. I especially want to acknowledge also the faith community, and especially in this area that we're in right now in Tennyson, which has played a huge role in solving a lot of the problems that existed. Truly, we're looking at it today and saying, how can we make it better? But they looked at it years ago. Bishop Backlund and South Hayward Parish, Palmacia, all of those churches, and they have made it better than it was then. So we can continue that progress. And so we have a really good community here with a lot of great assets. Think of when I loved looking at those nodes. Although I did have a question about the one around the intersection. I said, well, that's not the same as the others. That's not like a node where, because you could see a park in all the others that, or in the west, east end, the BART station, and a new park coming. But, that one was weird. However, it is important that you included it, because that's exactly what we need to do there, is look at that, the interchange, and decide how we can make it safer. That is not one of the interchanges that Caltrans that we're going to be doing major reconstruction of under Caltrans funding that we have for the other interchanges, but we do absolutely need to look at how to make it safer. We are, though, going to be making Tennyson safer by, we have a project that's in the pipeline through the Alameda County Transportation Commission to do the railroad overpass, so that will be safer, because that's been a big problem too. So there is funding from Alameda County Transportation Commission. Regarding the streets, yeah, that's one of the things I want to say, is there is funding that is available now, that will be available. However, There is another, besides our own Proposition T, which has been mentioned tonight, and I hope that people will support because it will help us to achieve these goals. There is another proposition, a statewide one, Proposition 6 on the ballot, that would overturn the legislature's increase of the gas tax last year, which was the first time that tax was increased in 25 years, and which has already enabled us to improve our pavement management index, to maintain our streets better. It's also going to provide pots of funding that we can apply for to do some of these road improvement projects that we're talking about, to make our streets safer and more complete streets. And if that, if Proposition 6, I guess that's what it probably passes, Initiative 6 on the ballot, to overturn that tax, we're going to lose a lot of our ability to do these things. So please vote no on Proposition 6 so that we can continue to get the funding we need to do some of these improvements. I'm glad we really need to get that bike plan completed. It's been in the works for a long time, but I know that a lot of work has been done already, and I think I've complimented Councilmember Zermania before on the idea about the green bikeways, which I wasn't too sure was something we should prioritize, but now that we've got a lot of them, they look great, and I hope that they're helping. I wanted to mention that there is another project that is coming from Alameda County Transportation Commission. It's the East Bay Greenway, and not the PG&E one that we think of, but it's going to be a bike path that has already been started in the Oakland segment, and it's going to be following the BART and the Union Pacific tracks down all the way to the termination point right now is the South Hayward BART station, and it will be a dedicated bike path that whole way, all the way from our BART station up through to Oakland. So that is in the works and coming, and that will help a lot. I have to say that the loop is not what I hear the most at the door when I'm out walking. It is speeding, and part of that is on the loop because during the non-commute times, people use that as a big freeway. During the commute times, it has helped move traffic through the Five Corners interchange a lot better than the old configuration. But then we're left with big capacity that makes cars speed. And so, but not just there, not just on our major roads, it's everywhere that I hear complaints about speeding through neighborhoods where children are playing. That is what I am hearing. That and parking, as Councilmember Salinas mentioned, in neighborhoods has increased because people have more cars. People are going to other neighborhoods nearby if they don't have parking in their own, and parking in their neighborhoods. I've been told see people coming and with leaving their cars in the evening and walking home after a day at work. We need to work on some of those issues. Speeding, I just really wish I had a magic wand. I don't know what to do. All of you, I just ask everybody to plead to look at yourselves, your own practices, and to plead with others to be careful out on those roads and to think about bicyclists and pedestrians. They're helping you by being off the road, so maybe we can all go a little slower, those of us who are driving, to think of them. On housing, I tend to be a person that sometimes looks at the glass half full, and not that we don't have to fill that glass, and not that we don't have to address the housing problems that we have in this city, like everyone, every other part of this Bay Area region. But I'm glad that we did much more, I think, than other communities early on start working with organizations like Eden Housing to build a number of projects in this city, all parts of the city. And going back quite a ways in West Hayward, Josephine Lum Lodge, in the downtown, we have the Eden Housing Project on Grand. Here we have the Eden Housing Project that was built just more recently with the South Hayward BART. Numerous ones all through the city. Also, we have used some of our housing money to go into older apartment buildings that have become very run down and refurbish them and then turn them over to an organization like Eden Housing to keep them permanently affordable. So a lot of people in Hayward are not experiencing the same rent crisis because they are living in housing that has been made permanently affordable, and we need to do more of that. The vacant buildings, public art, I'm a great advocate for, and I'll just say once again, and watch the city manager flinch a little, but I would really love to see an art commission in the city, and I think that kind of goes along with more public art, and we have a wonderful arts community, and it's time we recognize that with a city commission on the arts. And finally, on the Tennyson, it is a wonderful area. It has a lot going for it. I had other locations in mind for the farmers market, but I think Glad Tidings would be just great. And I really want to recognize the work of South Hayward Parish too in this area in helping the homeless people. And I hope that we can all help them to keep that up. And so with that, this is a start, and so we all need to keep the focus, keep working, keep sharing our ideas, listen to each other, and we will get to where we want to go if we do that. So thank you everyone for coming out tonight, or if someone is watching this program on Channel 15 on Friday night or on our website, just thank you for listening, and please share your ideas, and we will be continuing to work on all of these. They will come up. Our website has a lot of information, and check the city council agendas. We can't always come here. I think it worked out pretty well, despite a few little kinks, it worked out fairly well. But, for us, the council chambers is a little more manageable for some of the stuff we have to do. But keep an eye on the agendas, and come out and come and see us and comment. So I think unless anybody else has any closing comments they want to make, Councilmember Salinas.
I did want to say, and I would be remiss if I didn't say this, in addition to all of the other great work that's been going on here, California State University East Bay has also invested, now totaling over $50 million through the Hayward Promise neighborhood, from the Jackson Triangle through the South Hayward corridor to Tennyson. And this is a community-based initiative that is pulling together 15 different agencies that is putting through kids and families through a cradle to career pipeline that is also not only focusing on infrastructure and land use and so forth, but you have this $50 million investment in human resources and in people and families and kids. So I think that's also a nice added investment that is being done here in South Hayward.
Yes. So that we will move on to the next item on our agenda, which is city manager's comments.
No comments this evening.
Okay.
Or the community.
Council and
Go to the Mariachi Festival.
Friday night. What time does it start? 4:30. 4:30. Okay. 4:30 City Hall Plaza. Okay. And Councilmember Marquez.
I'll stay apolitical and just encourage you to vote and register to vote. And if you can't vote, get involved in the campaign. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, with that, we are adjourned.